This is the GPL podcast from GopherPuckLive.com. This podcast is sponsored by Jerry Peters and First Class Mortgage. Our expertise, your peace of mind. Visit us at firstclassmortgage.com. Now let's start the show with your hosts, Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the GPL podcast, episode number 209. Well, good evening, Vigs. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic after seeing the Gophers get 6 points. How about that, huh?
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Really needed it.
This weekend's going to be just as big. And what happens when we play Ohio State, Vigs?
We talk about dogs.
Besides that,
we talk hockey.
We do. And with who?
Cappy. We got Cappy on tonight.
There he is. Jeez.
Dogs and hockey.
Trying to lead Vigs here, jeez. I think he's got too many of those dogs in his
You guys practice that one, I think.
Yeah. I have zero script when I do this show. I used to have a script.
That's why it went so well. Script would sound so scripted, natural acting there,
No. I just have fun.
I tried.
How you doing, Cappy?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
You're going to be busy the next 2 weekends, aren't you?
I mean, if it's okay with Gopher fans, yeah, I'm going to be busy with you guys. I'm going to know them backwards and forwards.
Somebody was ripping you.
Lunchtime too, right?
Somebody was ripping you a couple weeks ago. Was it Edelweiss? Is it Inch? Somebody saying, "Who is this guy on color? He's an idiot."
Hey, have thick skin.
You gotta. Hey, at least they're saying something. I think it's something better than nothing.
Just
a compliment.
Yeah, and that's just it. Most hockey guys, they don't care.
I don't know. I mean, I want to do a good job, and I hope people enjoy. But I mean, I'm gonna do as best as I can and have fun with it because this is hockey and a game, and yeah, you want to call it right and be serious, but it's also fun. It's a sport, that's just my take on it. So I tried to have a little fun incorporated in there with it. So.
Just like we like to have fun with you on the show.
I mean, geez, what are we doing? Life's supposed to have some fun in it. So, hockey's a game. So let's enjoy. We got a top 10 matchup here. And then, let's have some fun. Hopefully, it's good games. I think they will be. I wish the teams were full strength. I mean, obviously Minnesota, but, let's see what happens.
Well, we'll get into that later, but right. As Vigo said when we started the show, 6 points for Minnesota Vigs, sweep of Michigan State, and Walker,
show me you read GPL without telling me you read GPL, right? I mean, Walker's performance this weekend really answering the bell.
Well, for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Well, I know, but he was played
when needed the most because it was trending at being one of those 1-1 ties and then going to overtime.
But we've been waiting for that, Cappy. We've been waiting for him to do this. And Vigs, he tied game at 1 Saturday night. He comes into the zone. He gets a penalty. He gets a penalty out of the refs. Scores before the penalty's called. Scores on the power play. He's off the schneid. He's got a point in the power play, Vigs. I mean, that stat that you found a couple weeks ago, which was amazing to me. He has his first point on the power play and right at the right time, Vigs.
Really at the right time. I think the biggest two keys for Walker's game was he didn't try to play hero. I think he stuck to the system and he made smart decisions with the puck for the majority of the weekend. He wasn't skating the puck into defenders, turning the puck over. He wasn't shooting the puck wide, starting the other team's breakout. I thought he was committed to being a team player. And the thing I liked about the first goal on the delayed penalty, as soon as he got the puck, he shot it quick. He got the shot off really quick. DeRitter didn't have time to really set it. He went down. He's like, hope it hit me. Didn't. And then the next one, the power play, he did have to dust it off. Took his time a little bit, but he picked his spot and he hit the net, which is a promising thing to see. I thought the power play on Saturday actually looked like the power play that Bob Motzko has been talking about. Put lots of pucks at the net, shoot quickly, get the puck to the paint, and try to win second chances. And that's the first time they've looked like that really all year.
And Cappy, Vig's kind of touched on it there. We've talked about this season is like, you can't go out there and try to be the hero. If you just play your game,
whenever you're trying too hard,
it'll come to you.
It's not gonna go work out for you. As hard as it can be, it's how you got to let the game come to you. I mean, you got to take what's given to you at times, and obviously, if you're down a goal or something late in the game, obviously your mentality changes in terms of how you go about it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't. I'm sure he'd love to have 35 points right now. He has 20, but honestly, the next 6 games and then maybe the next 6 after that are when Gopher fans are going to remember Sammy Walker. And if he does elevate here in the next 6 weeks, it won't matter.
Viggs is one of our favorite players in baseball. Kirby Puckett once said, I'm putting the team on my back. And boy, couldn't Minnesota use this out of Walker out of this, for the month of February coming up.
Yeah, I mean, when Walker's playing well, this team is difficult to beat. We look at some of the plus minus stats about when they win and when they lose, and that Walker McLaughlin combo is now like plus 39 in their wins and they're minus 21 in their losses. And that's just an amazing stat to me, how important they are to this team going up or going down. And I think the takeaway is against a Michigan State team that usually plays pretty stingy, Walker stuck to the game plan. And it's not so much about trying to be hero. It's that there are going to be times in the game when you're going to have chances to make an impact. Those will come to you. So you just can't give away chances the other way, trying to create opportunities that aren't there. So just recognizing that is so important to a college hockey player.
It didn't start that way this week and that weekend, though, Viggs. It was 2-0 after Minnesota dominated.
So they played well the whole time. From what I didn't see every minute, but I saw quite a bit, and it sounded like the Gophers played pretty well period 1 to period 6 of the weekend for the most part. Obviously, the goal hockey sometimes, the pucks don't bounce, or whatever. But it was, obviously the competition. Michigan State's a tough grinding team. There's a quick note about them. Like their record without like Mitch Lewandowski this year is like 1-14 or something like that, and they're like 8-1 with him. Like he's a good player. He's not Connor McDavid, but the stat is crazy. He's been out for a long time, and they've gone on a massive losing streak. But
he's obviously the kind of guy who he just raises everyone else's game too.
Sure, and he's actually has raised his point production this year. But Minnesota seemed like it was one of their more consistent 6 periods. Not we came back to play the second and third well, or played the second game better, or Good Friday, bad Saturday. It seemed like a pretty consistent weekend.
And Viggs, they did give up that 2-0 lead in the first game. It didn't bother them. They just plugged away, and they got what they needed. Maybe teams of these past 2 years, we played so well and we're still down 2-0. What was me?
It definitely was the disease that was infecting this program for a while. Or we're down 2-0 and I've got to go create something to get us back into it. Those two things can really just sap a team and really kill your season when things like that happen. I'm impressed that they stuck to it and they didn't start chasing. And, I think closer didn't have a great start. That backhand play on the rush, that's that's something that a goalie's really going to have a hard time with. Next one, maybe not his finest moment, maybe a bigger goalie that hits him, but I don't think it's a bad play either. And I think it speaks a lot to his mental makeup that he bounced back and made saves when he needed to the rest of the weekend. And I think that's a key for Minnesota going forward, because you don't know how goalies are going to react. When they give up a goal, whether or not it's a good one or not, how do they bounce back? And I think closer's showing that he's got that mental makeup that you want in a goalie who's going to play a lot of minutes for you.
Well, it was a good weekend all around, so that's the positive thing. This is the kind of weekend that would give up points in the past week. So, like you said, 6 points, that's a huge deal. I have a tweet from Darren Bach, and he always likes to tweet us questions. Could Michigan's season be in jeopardy with all of their allegation? We obviously had the unfortunate incident of not unfortunate.
We're talking. No, I don't.
Well, you can rip them as much as you want, Cappy.
No, it's not. No, honestly, are you asking me that, or are you?
Well, no, I was going to start with Viggs because
go Viggs, go.
Trouble has been a brewing. I mean, it started with the Michigan Tech, Western Michigan GLI problem, and now it's sounding like the head honcho's in trouble.
Okay. So let's clarify a couple things real quick. Educate people on the GLI situation. Apparently, dating back to summer, Mel Pearson, anticipating players playing in the World Junior, was almost campaigning in the athletic department that they shouldn't participate in the GLI at all, that they should pull out of it. I think the athletic department said, no, we want to go ahead. And then as the days got closer, they said, okay, we'll pull out of a game, but you still have to play Michigan Tech. Or maybe they gave Mel the opportunity to pick which game. Who knows what happens, because I don't think we're going to get the truth out of this. What happened? They played Michigan Tech, 0-0 tie. They have a full lineup, 12 forwards, 60, 2 goalies. It is what it is. They don't play Western Michigan. In response, Mel says it was up to the medical team. That's why we had to do it. It's their decision. Turns out, not the case. He lied about the emails. There's always an email. Just remember, dance like nobody's watching and write an email like it's going to be subpoenaed. Second thing that's been going on, dating back to October, the program's been under investigation for some Title IX issues about discriminating women, I think, in the program and uncomfortable work environment, possibly telling players to lie about COVID symptoms and downplay possible testing that would have to happen. We look back at the NCAA tournament last year where Michigan got told by the NCAA they couldn't play. Sounded like Mel Pearson was not very happy about that in the media publicly as that decision was being made, saying, it's out of my hands. I don't agree with it, but we have to do it. Sounds like he was trying to cover that up. So all this stuff is being investigated. And on top of it, you've got a Michigan university that's under turmoil. Their president was having an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate and got removed by the Board of Regents. Their provost had over 20 sexual harassment cases brought up against him. He was fired. Their AD is struggling right now with their football coach, who was maybe going to go to the NFL and now is back and now is losing some of his staff. So there's a lot of chaos there. I don't think the actual team is in trouble. Mel Pearson might be in trouble.
But if Mel Pearson's in trouble, that affects the team.
It's going to affect the team. With their Olympians away in Beijing, if Mel Pearson is gone, do those players come back or do they sign pro contracts? So there's a lot of chaos that could happen to Michigan right now, because you got to believe that some of these programs, NHL programs, are going to say, that player looked pretty good in our lineup at the end of the year, maybe drawing some fans.
I'll just stick to the hockey part. I think they would all come back. There was a reason why they came back. It was mostly because they wanted the Michigan experience, not the Mel. I personally, any interaction I've had with Mel Pearson, he's been great. So that's just whatever, one-on-one conversations, whatever. He's always been a good guy to talk to. Always gives a ton of information, actually. Like you feed him one question and he'll talk for 10 minutes. About the players, I think they'd come back. I think Bill McCult would be taking over, and I think he's already the heir apparent for whatever that may be, and maybe that could be in the next whatever. But those guys are the ones that recruited those guys. When you think about it, like that. So for me, I think hockey, the players would come back and they want to win. The reason they came back is because of the hockey, like doing this, having the fan experience. Playing in 2 weeks, they're going to be playing. Well, they're going to miss it but they're going to be playing in the playoffs at home, and the place will be rocking. But it's not good. And you didn't even mention the worst one of all is, and this happened at Ohio State, and it's happened all these places with these doctors and what they did for like 30 plus years. The same thing was happening at Ohio State that happened at Michigan, where this doctor for 30 plus years was sexually molesting student athletes. And it's just crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, and I heard of a couple other schools. Well, there's only two. And the fact that they're like, always brought together. It's just insane and sad.
It's a scary situation, Viggs. And on top of that, you have what happened in Chicago last week with the owner.
I was there. I was 5 feet from the reporter.
Were you really?
Well, yeah, because I was doing the game that night, and I was there at this town hall. It was an hour before going up to the booth. So, yeah, I was there.
Wow. I mean,
it was pretty uncomfortable.
Viggs, it's really ticking me off that somebody would do that, because this is not 1975 or 85.
I'm not the first one to come up with this take, but I don't know if any of you guys watch Succession. But it's about this kind of ultra rich family that runs a media conglomerate, and the patriarch of the family is, like 70 and kind of a little crazy, maybe on his meds, off his meds, and just out of touch with the world, and just wants to win and make money, even though he doesn't need it. Sometimes you feel like that's who's running the Blackhawks, and he's just so out of touch that he doesn't even realize what's going on and how big a deal this is. And it's just people in that position of power should know better.
How? I mean, you're a few feet from. How was it when the cameras were shut off? Were the reporters, people just talking to each other? Like, did that just really happen?
I mean, literally right after. Actually, it's on my TV right now. He was on the pregame show. His son Danny, who was supposed to answer that question, it wasn't even supposed to be Rocky. This was Danny's show, the new CEO, his son. Yeah. And he was on the pregame show and did a 20-minute interview and got to say what he was going to say about what they're doing in the new culture and all this stuff. So that part, but no, him and Faulkner, the two people pretty much in charge now, came over and talked to all the reporters and met with just talked to him and said, hey, apologize, all this stuff. And blah, blah, blah. And what he got to say tonight was what was hoped to have gone. And sad thing is they were prepped for this, and everyone was.
But nobody prepped the old.
Oh, no, yes, he did. And he got mad in the prep, I guess. But whatever. It's a cluster. That thing is he was a hero 12 years ago when his father, Bill Wirtz, was the most ancient thinking old school man. He didn't put home games on TV because he thought people would not come to the games. So when he passed, Rocky took over and he became a hero because he changed everything in the hockey. And you saw what happened. Obviously, the Blackhawks became what they became, in front of everybody. Obviously, those behind the scene things were horrible, but he was looked at as a hero. And in one night he went from that to the worst villain than his dad, I think, in a matter of an hour, so it's sad. It's too bad.
I mean, it's just going to keep happening, Viggs, until some of these people just open up and say, we have a problem. We're putting a plan together, whatever. The way it was handled was just not good. And it will be interesting to see what happens in this Michigan situation. Is Mel in trouble? Maybe the team will be fine this year, but maybe he doesn't survive after the season.
It's hard to know. I mean, there's a little bit of a power vacuum at Michigan right now as they've got so many things going on. It's hard for them, I think, to pay attention to a hockey program that's probably not their focus. But I do think they'll be fine in the long run. Bill McCall is a great coach, great recruiter, a lot of energy, players like him. I think players like Mel too. I mean, Mel's always been a great person in the hockey community to talk to about things. He's one of those coaches that if you ask a good question, he gives you more than you ask for, like Cappy was saying. I like coaches like that. Jim Montgomery comes to mind, George Gwozdecki comes to mind, coaches of like-minded ability to handle the media and give back. So it's frustrating to see this go down, but these are just examples of people in power not understanding that there's going to be a follow-up. People are going to catch you if you're trying to lie or be dishonest or you don't handle something right. I just kind of wonder sometimes if these people in power think they're just unchecked and they'll just get to rule and dominate how things are going to go. Because when you get in these public situations where you've made bad choices and you've put bad people in charge, you're going to be held accountable. So the quicker those people realize that, the better for all of us.
Amen, Viggs. That's all we can say. It's just it's a wait and see, at least with the Michigan thing. So
yeah.
First, before we move on to what's going to happen the rest of this month, we need to hear from our sponsor.
Hey, fellow GPLers, Jerry Peters here from First Class Mortgage. Have you refinanced your home in the last 12 months? If you haven't, chances are you should. Record low interest rates and skyrocketing home values make this the perfect time to remove monthly PMI while improving your interest rate at the same time. You can also use the equity in your home to finance those home improvement projects. Or you can consolidate high interest rate credit cards into one new low monthly payment. To hear more, call or text me today at 612-940-3291. You can email me at jerry@firstclasscorp.com, or you could go to firstclassmortgage.com to fill out a free online application. Mention the GPL podcast and receive a $300 closing cost credit. Some restrictions do apply. First Class Mortgage's NMLS number is 322842, mine is 480200. This is not an agreement to lock into an interest rate under Minnesota law. First Class Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
All right. Thank you, Jerry, as always, for sponsoring our podcast here. Well, Viggs, it was the first week without the Olympic guys. Went pretty well for Minnesota. But now the speed limit goes way up and the competition goes way up. And it's a completely different ballgame this weekend.
Yeah, I thought on Friday night, Minnesota was in a little bit of a hole and the game was kind of getting into a lull. And all of a sudden, there were a couple of mistakes by Michigan State where Minnesota had opportunities to score goals and they capitalized. And once they got momentum, Michigan State made a few more mistakes and just kind of let Minnesota have chances to get back in the game, and they did it. When you're playing Ohio State, Bob Mosko talked about this today, it's like playing UMD. It is a tight hockey game. There are not going to be mistakes for you to have to capitalize on. You're going to have to play a patient game and not make mistakes yourself trying to force things. There's always that joke that it's going to be a rock fight. You get the puck, you throw it over the red line, hopefully it does some damage. They're going to get the rock, they're going to throw it back at you. And so it's just that kind of battle back and forth about who's going to make a mistake first or who's going to create offense out of nothing. And so it's a huge test for them this weekend because we have not seen Minnesota play well in these situations consistently.
And Cappy, Ohio State is playing so well this year, taking advantage of their situation. A rookie goalie coming in, playing outstanding. A lot of young players playing outstanding. They're in first place. Obviously, 2 games in hand, but they can kind of control their own destiny here. And we're just going to say it. They're hitting Minnesota and Michigan at the right time.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
they have to take advantage.
Sure. I mean, they will have earned it if they do well the next 2 weekends. They will have earned that. I mean, aside from the fact that you're playing a team that's shorthanded both weekends, Yeah, I mean, I obviously I'm a little biased, but I didn't think they would be a 7th place team this year.
Mhm.
I just, I thought middle of the pack more based on the fact that you didn't know what you had in the league after Michigan and Minnesota. Like the next 5, I thought Notre Dame was 3, but then after that, I thought those 4 could end up anywhere. And the one thing with Ohio State is I follow them a little more. I saw some of the recruits they had, and I'm like, these 2 defensemen are legit, and they're like, one's a legit NHL prospect. The other one could be in McWard, and then in goal, it's always a wild card. You have no idea what you're getting, and now you have arguably statistically the best goalie in the league. And a top 5 goalie in the country, possibly it's statistically. So I guess, and one other thing that's gone under the radar for sure is the transfers. Jake Wise has got 28 points, and Will Rydell is a captain. He's been there for a month, and he's a captain, before the season. So you had and then Eric Cooley, a guy that's had 80 points coming into this year, but he's on the 4th line at Ohio State. He's got 3 goals in the last 4 games. So they've just got depth now, which they had none last year. I mean, last year was awful. So it's interesting. And they keep getting better, young guys. So I don't know.
I see this question by Tim Hapke. Are you going to be on site to call the games? And it doesn't sound like you are you?
No, I might as well be sitting here and doing it. I actually probably have it better on my screen. No, we will. For anyone that's like the next 2 weekends, it'll be me and Dan Kelly. We have all 4 games, and we will be in Chicago unless something changes. But I don't think that's happening.
Were you going to call was there going to be any Big Ten? There was going to be Big Ten games for Notre Dame and Wisconsin this
Thursday.
week.
Dan was doing Thursday with Pat Micheletti.
Oh, okay. And then that got
we saw that the games have been rescheduled. They put they could air Sunday's game at 8 o'clock. They could. There's nothing after 5 on BTN, but there's a reason for that.
Yes,
Could be a blowout in the Super Bowl. You never know.
I think it's 8 o'clock. That's the end of the game. You could probably turn it over after the game.
If they wanted me to go in the studio Sunday night at 8 o'clock with Dan and do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. Super Bowl's fine. It's fun, but whatever. I mean, it's not my team playing, so but yeah, that's they're playing 8:30, I think, on Saturday, and now an 8 p.m. on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad they're playing. And hey, you got to do what you got to do. I just haven't heard anything in terms of TV. Was going to be Thursday was us, and then Friday I'm assuming would have been Bally's. So I don't know. And they had to rearrange all these other sports, like the men's basketball game and the women's basketball, I think. So I'm glad they're playing them, and then there's no discrepancies because Notre Dame officially is still in the mix. So I don't think they're going to win the league, but they're they have a chance still.
And Viggs, it is. They're still hoping. I don't know. Did we ever have official confirmation that Wisconsin's going to be able to have players out, or are they just kind of assuming that their players will be eligible? I never heard confirmation on that. I know Todd was kind of curious about Todd Molesky, I should say.
Yeah, I think they're hoping that the players clear their 5-day protocol and are going to be able to play. So, should be a good matchup.
I think this benefits Notre Dame a little bit, kind of backing it up a little. I mean, playing that Thursday night, that just sounds like a trap for Wisconsin to beat them. And now it may seem to be a trap on that Sunday night 8 o'clock game, but maybe you get that first one and then a little easier on Sunday. But
so Cappy, you were mentioning the next 2 weekends are, big for Ohio State.
Yeah.
They could finish first and be off for 2 weeks, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask Viggs about this. Could they get, say, Arizona State's come and play an exhibition game?
Have they scheduled that exhibition that they could have?
They had scheduled. They had one. I just don't know. I feel like the NCAA has kind of loosened on some of that stuff.
Because the NCAA allowed that extra scrimmage, and that's why Minnesota was able to play St. Thomas.
Right.
So I would
They
have to
haven't played a
think.
game but they also played the USA team.
Yeah, because you got to play an extra exhibition this year.
Right.
'Cause
So
you-
they played
'cause-
one. They played two. Then
The
officially.
Gophers did, yes.
Yeah, right. So you
And
could
Ohio
play
State's
two.
only played one.
Right. They played Western Michigan at home, like in October or whatever. So that's what I guess they could officially do that if they wanted. If that
Yeah.
happens.
Yep, they could play another exhibition against someone. I'm sure, the development team would like it, or
Long Island or
Long Island will play another one.
Well, Arizona probably would want to jump on it the most.
Yep.
I'm sure Ohio State would want to play at home or somewhere in Columbus because who knows where the ice is available. Because that's what's crazy is if they do win, because this happened 3 years ago when they won the league. They had the same situation. They had 2 weeks off.
Yep.
They were the team that didn't have it, and then they had 2 weeks off. Played Penn State at home on a Sunday because they didn't have the rink Saturday, and then they were one and done. And then they went to NCAA tournament as a 2 seed or something, and they were out again. So they, had a month where they just played 2 games and lost the last 2. So
if they were to, finish off first, their last game
Right.
would be the weekend of, the 18th and 19th.
Right.
Wouldn't play the last weekend of the year.
13th, that's Sunday the 13th.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Because now this isn't official, but if it's not Ohio State at home and they're in the semifinal, both games would be Saturday, I believe. But if it's Ohio State is home on one of those semifinals, it would be Saturday at Minnesota or at Michigan or whomever, and then Sunday would be at Ohio State time. I don't know. That's just because I know they still have the same rink issues as they had 3 years
ago.
ago.
So semifinal would be on the 13th. So that's
right. So we're talking about
last play the 19th, and then their next game would be the 13th.
Right. So
wow,
20.
I mean, it happened to Minnesota not too long ago too. Because they finished the season with a bye, finished first.
Didn't they play? I thought they played. They didn't play that week because most teams found games or.
I think one of those years they didn't they, Viggs? But
they played Arizona State.
I feel like they played Arizona State that year.
Michigan
did.
No, 1 year they did, but I want to say early in the Big Ten, one of those first 4 years that they won the league, they had that new format or something like that, and they were up.
It's only been 4 years or 5 years or something, right? Because Notre Dame has been in the league for 5 years. Either way,
I think we'll have to get in touch with Todd Molesky for the official verdict on this, as we are not the experts, clearly.
Right. Either way, though,
on what's possible.
I think it's something you'd look into. You'd want to do it the next weekend and then have a week off. If you were that team, I think you'd want to have the week. You'd want to play the next week and then have a week off before, because just in case of an injury or some sort, obviously you don't hope for any of that, but I would prefer, if I was a coach of that team, I would want to play a game.
Because I do remember talking to Don Lucia about this, and he said, they brought out the jerseys and they tried to make it as big of a game thing as they could.
Like a scrimmage?
A scrimmage, and it lasted for 3 shifts. And then they're just like, okay, there's no fans here. There's no officials. We better just kind of scrap it and be done, not get hurt.
Right. It's tough, though. I mean, the thing with that is if it does happen, they've gone through it before. It's the same staff. So they might have a different perspective than they did last time. So it'll be interesting.
Get an 8th team in the conference.
What's that?
Get an 8th team in the conference. Solves it all.
I think there honestly would be right now. We're talking. It would have been happening this year or next year if, what do you call it?
Illinois, wasn't it?
Call didn't happen. Let's say, it was supposed to be announced, I thought, in April of 2020, and that was a month after, everything happened. So who knows? Well, I guess we'll never know. And hopefully but I've heard it's still in the works. It's just a matter of time again.
I'll be waiting. Waiting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we talked about this last time I was on. What's going to happen with Arizona State next year with a brand new arena, and what's going to move around?
Won't they have a partner in that arena, Viggs?
Yep. Possibly the Coyotes are going to get in there, much to the chagrin of every other owner in the NHL having to share revenue with the
this
bottom.
from happening?
That's wild.
Well, I mean, one thing that was interesting that I read was that estimates of Arizona's actual tickets sold suggest that this wouldn't be the worst thing ever for them because they
Selling
may
like
be
6,000.
giving away they may be giving away 5,000 or 6,000 seats a night to boost their attendance numbers. And actual NHL owners have access to real data on tickets sold. They can kind of do like I do when I do the Freedom of Information Act requests with you, and I get, ticket scanned and stuff like that, and season ticket holders. The owners share that information. So maybe it's not as outlandish as we all think, and they might actually be able to actually sell tickets to their building.
I think the biggest thing will affect the out of town people. I know, people there in March and April or in February, March for spring training, they want to go see the, Pittsburgh, let's say the Blackhawks, Chicago teams are out there. Whoever else is out in Arizona for spring, a lot of people, they, live there in the spring and they go see their road teams. That's when they get crowds, if any, out at their games. So that would affect them trying the secondary market on StubHub when there's only 5,000 seats available total might actually, and that doesn't help the owners.
All right, Vigs. What does Minnesota need to do this weekend to be successful in your eyes?
In my eyes, they have to play a patient game. There's going to be this desire, I think, out of these players to prove it and force action out there. They need to go against that feeling and just continue to grind it. One of the things that was really interesting that I was focusing on Saturday was watching Huglen and Pitlick play hockey. Rhett Pitlick can escape along the wall just as good as about any player on the Gopher roster. He reminds me of Sammy Walker as a freshman with his ability to hound pucks, back check, create chances out of nothing and start transition plays. I mean, that's something to watch because if he continues to develop on that trajectory, he's going to be a heck of a hockey player. And Aaron Huglen, he's a tough center. He's a future number one center for this team. So that's something to watch.
I was just jump in real quick. Sorry. I was shocked at seeing Huglen's numbers when I saw them because when I've watched him, he stood out as not as a star player, but I'm like, how does he only have 6 points? Like he looks way more dangerous out there just from watching him all season when I've watched the Gophers.
I feel the same way. I know you've liked it, Vigs. You like the way he's played.
Yeah, I think if like Pitlick and Huglen and Bros got some power play time together, that could be something to build on because they make smart plays and they're good at retrieving pucks for second chances and they're creative. So I think that's going to be something for fans to watch for years to come here. I think the offense will come for Huglen. I think he's just a disciplined player. He doesn't chase the game very often, and he wants to be that third high guy. So you don't see him selling out to try to create chances. And I think just some of the roles that he's playing in right now.
Okay, Cappy, what does Ohio State need to do to be successful this weekend?
Do what they've been doing. Honestly, you talked about how like they make you earn most, you got to be patient. The one guy that will cough the puck up, but he's he's high risk, high reward, but he's way more reward is Mason Lohrei. He will turn the puck over, but he's also dynamic and he's kind of like Quinn Hughes. I actually think he's like Owen Power because of his size. He's just obviously not as good as Owen Power, not that far below him, but he's the one guy that if you put pressure on him and he'll maybe turn the puck over more than, everyone else. Everyone else plays that smart game. I think the big thing is the special teams both ways because they're both pretty average at, they're
at best for Minnesota. I mean,
what's funny is the fact that you guys brought up shooting the puck, and I've asked Steve Rollick about this, and he's like, we just don't have any shooters. Nobody wants to shoot first. Nobody has a shoot first mentality on their power play. And that's where, they try to make that one more pass, right? And when teams do that in any league, at any level, that's when they get in trouble. And they've got guys that can shoot. I mean, Merkulov's got the highest shooting percentage, I think, in the country. It's real close. And his goal, I don't know if you guys saw it on Saturday against Wisconsin, where he was 1-on-5 and he just ripped one over Rowe's glove. And you're like, okay, this guy needs to shoot the puck more. And he's still got 18 goals. So shooting the puck on the power play, but special teams going to be huge. And then I can't wait to see third periods when both these teams are monsters in the third period. I don't know Minnesota's exact numbers, but Ohio State is scored 50 and given up 17 in the third periods this year, which is just an insane number. So I hope both games are 1-1 or 2 tied going to the third, and let's see these two teams bash it out at the end.
Viggs, we've talked about it quite a bit this year about the Minnesota power play and the frustration that you've had and I've had. I mean, I will text you in the middle of a game. It's just too slow. Puck move is too slow. Like you said, they might not have any guys who are shooters. And if they do get that chance to shoot, they're stopping the puck. They're taking too much time to get the shot off. Maybe because it's themselves or the pass came to them was just not where it needs to be. So it's just a combination of a lot of things here, Viggs.
There's an old saying in hockey, you can't give a good player a bad pass. And so I think as guys set up on the flanks, they have to be ready to adjust their bodies to get the puck on net. I mean, you watch a guy like Ovechkin, NHL pretty skilled, but those passes are not in the perfect spot every time. He's finding a way to contort his body to get the blade on the puck and get it to the net. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be quick. And I think we kind of saw that on Saturday, that finally was starting to click on the players' minds as they were getting pucks to them, and pucks were getting to the net. They weren't getting blocked. They weren't dusting it off. They were putting pucks in the paint. And I think that's what they have to do to be successful, because one of the things that the Minnesota power play is really good at is when there's chaos and second chances, that's when that skill can really shine, especially for a guy like Blake McLaughlin. He seems to make plays in tight spaces out of chaos better than any Gopher forward. So as they get more comfortable with that and create more of those chances, I think they're going to get more goals.
But that's the problem. They haven't been able to get the puck moved around fast enough and accurate enough to cause the chaos.
Correct. It's easy saves for the goalie.
Yeah.
The goalie sees it coming. They're not good enough shooters to typically pick their spots. The Walker goal, DeRitter went down. He picked it.
He did pick it.
He picked it.
He held on to it a little bit too long than you would have liked.
Yeah, I mean, on the first goal he scored on the delayed penalty, as soon as the puck on his stick, it was gone. And he scored. And DeRitter was still coming down, and he found a hole somewhere. That's the key. Get him off quick. And so we'll see if they can do that. I know Ohio State typically has a really good penalty kill, but it hasn't been very sharp this year either, right?
No, it's been, not awful, but just not good.
It's 73, 74%, somewhere in there.
And then it's 81 in the Big Ten. They're fifth or sixth, fifth, I think. Wisconsin scored on it last weekend a couple times, I think. But yeah, I want to see Minnesota. I think it's the mentality too when they're on their different size rinks. It's so easy to pass it around the perimeter and look for that cross ice one timer, and then you think, oh, we're so far away from the net, right, to get to those second chances. When they're at Ohio State, it's going to be tighter. At any NHL size arena, the key more will be, can they work it around quick and then get a shot and attack, as opposed to, it's easy to move it around on this. I think the more challenge will be to start the power play, to get puck control in the zone as much as once they do have it, then I think they'll be in better shape.
Sometimes I think Gopher coaches have put players on their strong side instead of their offside, because when you're on your offside, you tend to drift farther and farther away to create a lane for a one-timer.
You just kept backing away.
And all of a sudden you're taking a one-timer from the hash marks on the wall.
You don't even mean to.
Rink.
Honestly, you don't mean to. It's just like a natural motion. All of a sudden you're just backing up. And you don't even realize you're doing it. I've yelled at guys. I'm like, look where you are. Stop. And you're at the outside hash instead of on the face-off dot where you're in prime position. And you look around, you're like, oh shoot, yeah, I didn't mean to. I just didn't even think. And then also they're doing that thing where guys come high up and you try to like time it so the puck goes from the weak side up to the top, and then getting that guy that's on his strong side kind of, then he's attacking the net with the puck, and he can shoot it and he can go across or he can go down. So you're right on that. I think that helps, stop that from happening, because then you're looking at the plays in front of you the whole time.
Right. So it's definitely a focus this weekend because there are goals there for Minnesota to score. Against Michigan State, it was tough to move the puck through the seam because they're a big team, a lot of long sticks, big bodies, tough to get those seam plays going. So I know Minnesota's been trying to figure out how to use the bumper. They've tried, Nevers there. They've tried McLaughlin there. They've tried Krutschink there. They've tried Brodzinski there. It hasn't been great for them using a bumper. So we'll see what happens this weekend, because I think the net front is going to be key with Ohio State's goaltending.
All right, Viggs, it's that time. Let's get your prediction.
We're early.
No.
I've got a bad feeling about this weekend.
Oh.
I thought Minnesota got a little lucky on Friday to get that momentum and get the win on Friday. They did look better on Saturday, but we just have kind of seen this kind of Jekyll and Hyde out of the team, and I don't think they're going to get mistakes. I think Ohio State's going to play a very clean game. They're going to get really good goaltending. I am a little worried about Close in a game where you could see the most action he's seen and high talent action. The goal that kind of came over the net where he went down and the guy picked a corner, that's not on him. That's not a bad goal on him. But if he was bigger, the odds of that puck hitting him are better. I think against a team like Ohio State, they might just be patient and put volume pucks at net and try to pick at holes in his technique. And he hasn't really seen that yet. He hasn't been under that kind of pressure. So I think Minnesota would be lucky to get 3 points. I think they're going to get 2.
I'll give you one stat as I've been doing my studying this weekend. Justin Close has not seen 30 shots in a game yet. 29 at Notre Dame? At Notre Dame.
And those weren't high quality shots.
Right. Those were the most he's seen in a game. Michigan was interesting because they didn't get a ton of shots, but when they did, they got quality stuff. Mm-hmm. That was the weird thing about that series at Mariucci, but he has not seen 30 shots. And I think at least one of the games he'll see 30 this weekend. So is it my turn now?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to get predictions? Since
you can do whatever you want.
Some announcers choose not to, and they hide behind that announcer, persona. But Cappy, we know you. You've been on this before, and you usually give a prediction.
Sure. I mean, I've been thinking honestly around the same thing as you. I think Minnesota gets. I think one game goes to overtime, and then it's kind of that's. We can gripe about this maybe in the overtime, about the whole hour overtime and what's considered a win and a loss, because it's total BS that you could consider a loss once you go to overtime, and it should not be a win or a loss either way. But that's just I think it'll go to tie one night in regulation and then toss up for after, and I think the Buckeyes will win the other game. That's just. But I could see it completely flipped easily. With those 3 guys out and Ohio State's depth and how good Dobish has been, that's the one thing is you're waiting for these freshmen to have, and maybe this is their first, maybe they have their first rough weekend, but these freshmen usually at some point you hit a wall or something when you've been relied on, and they haven't. Those 3 guys alone, and then I think McWard and Thiesing are really good freshmen too. But those big 3, call them the big 3, whatever you want to say, with Merkulov, Lori, and Dobish, it's just not. They've just not stopped. They've kept going. So I'm just banking on that nothing changes.
Minnesota's going to take 5 points this weekend.
Ooh.
Friday night, they're going to come out. They're going to beat them up. If the Olympic boys are there, it'd be a 5-1 game. It's going to be more like a 3-1 game. They're just not. The team's going to have it. Saturday night, they're going to come together and win one in overtime. I'm going 5 points this weekend.
It'll be fun. I think it's going to be good. It's going to be great. I'm excited.
If Minnesota plays like they did
so
against some of those
important,
games against Michigan and you know,
well, that's the problem, right? Friday night they looked like they could have beat the Wild.
Anybody, yes.
But then they got smoked 6-1 the next night. So it's
yes.
just, and that's with everyone, both teams, Michigan and Wisconsin, or Michigan and Minnesota. That series at Yost was just so weird. How there was like a 10-goal swing.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the Big Ten, right, guys? I mean, this league, there's a lot of high talent on every roster. Every roster's talented. And consistency is the hardest thing for 18 to 25-year-olds to figure out.
Sure.
And we see it on a nightly basis in the Big Ten.
This has been the one year, though, where this league is completely split in half. Now, there's talent on every team, but clearly there is
Mike's already decided.
It's not even close. And I think Ohio State's last loss in regulation was to Michigan on December 9th, whatever that was. So I keep waiting for things to change and happen, and we'll see.
You know what? Ohio State's gonna, even if Ohio State takes the title, they're in trouble when Michigan and Minnesota get their players back.
I want them to play both. I'd love.
I just want to say it now. Michigan or Minnesota is going to go into Ohio State and kill them in the Big Ten playoffs.
That could, if they're going into Ohio State might be on the road. I mean, who knows?
Well, I don't think they.
Minnesota takes 5 points this weekend, buddy. They're not going to be in the game.
Yeah, you're right. But, I just
right. No, I know.
I don't think anybody's going to want to play Michigan in the NCAA tournament. Especially you get a lot of those players coming back from Olympic games where Canada is going to go far. U.S. is going to do pretty decent.
You think? Who knows?
It's just going to make for an exciting time. It's just going to be an exciting time.
Yeah. One thing to know going into this weekend, if Minnesota were to get the sweep, they would be in a very healthy position at 8 in the pairwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think either team gets a sweep, they're in the tournament.
If the Buckeyes sweep, the Gophers drop to 13.
Right. Really? They drop that far?
They go to 13. And that puts them
on the road against a top 10 pairwise team. Wow. I guess it depends on what happens other places, right?
It does, but agnostic of all that other activity, this is a huge swing series for Minnesota.
Yeah. I just don't see either team winning both games in regulation. That's what I'll say.
Let's go. Let's go.
Only Wednesday. And there should be a great crowd. They've been getting good student sections. They had over 4,000 students at a couple of games against Notre Dame, I think it was. They set a record. And It's great because we never had that. And then it's obviously the dogs. The dogs bring in the students. So,
let's go.
Yeah, I think that bottom bowl at Ohio State, they've done a good job of, they closed off the top and they just fill up the bottom, and it's about 8,000 or 9,000, and it's a good atmosphere if you fill that up.
Get a new arena; it would be great.
Don't bring that up to me. I'm having a good time. You bring that up, and oh my god,
you know, Cappy, I was looking at some numbers, and in terms of Big Ten spending.
Yeah.
6 Big Ten teams are in the top 10 for spending among all college hockey programs. Who's number 7?
I'm assuming it's us.
It's Ohio State. Yeah. But they're still 13th nationally in
right. I mean, the Big Ten is we're the bullies with the money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. They've built all kinds of new facilities for almost every damn sporting. Like volleyball's got a beautiful new thing, and not that we're a revenue generator, but I don't know who gets more attendance than hockey does, aside from, basketball and football and, wrestling does well, I guess, but they have so few events. They probably have like 4 or 5 home meets, I think, all year. So, if I had an answer, I don't want to talk about Let's talk about, I'd rather talk about Minnesota sweeping than talking about.
Oh, there we go.
So,
but that's going to be it for this podcast. Cappy, we're going to overtime in a bit here, so we're getting serious.
We're going to talk about the overtime rules and all that crap.
Yeah, Viggs, what do you got?
Article this week on GPL for the big series. Bob Motzko. We have what we need, and we need to have what we have.
Oh, he has to read it. He has to read
I know
it
it's
because
confusing. It's confusing. But Garrett Boyne wrote on the board a couple weeks ago, "We have what we need," and Bob saw that and he's like, there's more to it than that.
Was that the
He's
day
like,
after the boys left for China?
For China, he said, "We need what we have as well,"
We need
and part of that means he needs players stepping up. Like Carl Fish, 3rd star of the week. We got to meet him at availability this week for some great stuff.
Yeah.
And he's a character, and he adds a lot to this team.
We talked to him today. Me and Dan talked to him today. He's a nice guy.
He's a great guy. Big guy, yeah. It's what this team needs. You look at the defensemen right now, you've got big guys.
That's where the depth is lacking. But if Fish is stepping up, that's good. But that's where the depth is lacking. I think the forwards are so many guys up front.
Well, we've paired the skilled defenseman now with the big steady defenseman. So Brinkman, Stoddard, and Fish are paired with Lacombe, Johnson, and Kester. So you've got a guy who's got the clear role to support another player. It's been looking good.
That and you you're playing. You're not looking over your shoulder. Those guys are gone or whatever. But it's only Faber right now on defense. But you could hear it in his voice. Fish felt like relaxed and he knew his role and he had kind of like he's right in there and he's doing it. He knows when he's coming to the rink for practice, end of the game, what he's got to do. And that is a big thing for an athlete is when you know what you have to do. Now, consistency over a long time, we'll see if that happens. But I think that's the biggest thing is when you get a role and you know what you're coming to the rink every day to do, it usually helps a lot.
Like I said, let's go. Let's have some. Yeah.
I wish I was there. Are you kidding me?
Oh, it would be fun. It'd be fun. We'll be making fun of you on TV, so.
That's fine.
Well, thanks for coming on again with us, Cappy.
Yeah, man, always.
You're one of my favorite guests.
We'll do a playoff preview down the road.
Oh,
I think we did that last year. I can't remember.
We may have to do that. That was the longest overtime too ever with Molesky. So
I'm usually in Florida doing those long ones, but
yeah. So
good place to be.
An hour later. Tonight it's only 10:30. Early.
Well, that is going to do it for the GPL podcast this week. Of course, we thank Cappy for coming on with us again. Next week we'll be back to recap this huge series. It's just going to be Viggs and I next week, so we'll have plenty to talk about after this huge series. For those of you currently watching live, make sure you stay tuned for some overtime. For the rest of you, we'll catch you next week on the GPL podcast. All right, hold on. Let me isolate you here, Viggs. What do you got?
I was gonna get this like popped and get the sound effect, but this one is just
is that a Yoo-hoo?
It's got wax on it.
Whoa!
And the wax has got like a stamp on it here.
Maker's mark.
Ooh,
yeah,
fancy!
It's a big beer too.
Yeah, it's a big beer. I'm a big guy, Cappy.
I had my.
What are you about 6'4", Viggs? 6'3"?
6'2.5".
That's just because I'm short.
Just go 6'3". Just
when he's on skates,
but I'll be damned if I'm not 5'10".
Oh boy.
Oh, isolation. I turn the isolation as the pressure's on him. Ooh. Look at that.
Look at this. I got to work with a blade here.
Wow.
All right, we're getting progress here.
The comments are going crazy.
There's a lot of wax on this thing. All right, here we go. Ooh, yeah. I tell you, this one, it's going to be worth it. Going to be worth it. There we go. A lot of wax. So this right here is from Prize. This is a bourbon barrel aged 2021 Lost Moon Russian Imperial Stout. And this is from the Brewer's Reserve. So he picks like a special barrel of it.
Looks like wine.
It is a little bit
like
wine.
The bottle does. The bottle.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one is
pours nicely.
12.1%. And it's this is bottle number 40.
Ooh.
So if you drink that whole bottle right now, you'd probably have a pretty good buzz.
Yeah, one and done. Hopefully, we'll see.
I mean, 17%. Did you say?
No, 12.1.
12%. Okay, but that's like 4 beers
Yeah,
in a glass. I mean, in a glass,
this is gonna be great.
and then you're gonna have 2 glasses. That's 8 beers in what? 30 minutes? 40?
Is this the podcast so Viggs will end up in the bed behind him?
Right. Just turns and rolls.
Yeah, the bed is new, so
Turns and just flops onto it.
I'll break out the iPhone and I'll just go in there. We'll get the high def 4K camera.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, can I start bitching about overtime wins? And all
Let's hear about your overtime bitch.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get it. You're playing 3-on-3. It's not real hockey.
It only matters for
Not
the
a win.
standings. It only
It's-
matters for the standings.
Right. Well, because these idiots
But
that are voting on USCHO, they consider it a win. An overtime game is a win. It's not.
It's 55%
Well,
of a
it
win.
is, but
Right.
the NCAA
Barely a
considers
win.
it a win, though.
Barely a win.
Barely a win.
Yeah, but the NCAA still considers it.
Perception, it's looked at as a win. Like Notre Dame swept Michigan that weekend when they beat them in overtime twice.
It's weird because like when the Gophers split with the Huskies, I was like, no, they didn't. They got a quarter of a win basically.
Right. They got. Well, right. I mean, I don't know. What it's just. You know.
I tended to like the old
Yes.
overtime rules.
Well,
5-on-5, 5 minutes. Whoever wins still gets all the points.
Right. They just didn't want 2 overtimes anymore, which I agree. It's insane to have 2 5-minute overtimes. I just think it's silly when people say, "Oh yeah, they won, they beat, they swept them," because they, even like last weekend, Ohio State didn't sweep Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
They got the extra point because they scored in overtime, but a 3-on-3 exhibition. I mean, I like the fact that 3-on-3 is there because more games are at least being decided in somewhat hockey, not shootouts. That was the purpose, I think. And then obviously going from 5 to 3, 2 overtimes. Big Ten Network didn't want any of that because these games were going an extra 30 minutes long, and that was not.
But
good.
with the shorter periods now, the games are much shorter. The break, you could do that.
You could do that now, but then everyone else would have to comply, and that everyone would yell at the Big Ten some more. But I get it. When you win that game, you're going to say it, but it's perceived around the country. When people don't pay attention, they're voting, and they look, oh, Notre Dame swept Michigan. Oh, drop them and raise them. I'm like, they won 3-on-3 exhibition twice. They tied 2 games when they were playing regular hockey. That's my only thing. The pairwise, like Vig said, that does the computing, and that's what matters. But I just think the perception around when people talk and when they vote, because some of that East Coast bias that goes on out there, we wouldn't know anything about. But
how do you think you could tweak it, Viggs? I mean, I still like I said, I'm more old school. I liked 5-on-5 overtime. Winner gets all the points, loser gets none.
I think it's difficult because college hockey is a playoff structured sport and they don't play a national schedule. And so these games matter for who gets into the tournament. It matters for seeding. So you can't just throw away results like you do in the NHL. Because you're going to have, half the league qualify for the tournament and get 7-game series. So you can just throw it away and make it fun and entertaining. Same thing in minor hockey. College hockey, you just don't play enough games against the people that you're trying to compete against for the playoffs.
Right.
So it doesn't really work very well for NCAA hockey. I actually enjoy 3-on-3. I think it's really fun to watch.
I 1,000% agree.
But in terms of those points meaning something, it is kind of like joke hockey, like Motzko said the other day. He's like, it doesn't really, you don't want to invest time to practice for it when your power play is under 20%,
I just think that, I mean, if you got to do that, I think everything after regulation should just be considered X for points for the points for the league. It's a tie in the national standing or whatever.
It essentially is now though too.
But it's not looked that way when you say, "Oh, they won in overtime." You know what I mean?
Well, you've got Bucci tweeting at the people who only care about the bean pot that just a reminder, you don't have limitless OTs in the bean pot anymore because of the NCAA and all of Boston is like, what?
Right.
That's the best when the bean pot goes
2
to
in the morning. They're still playing because that second game started at 9:45.
Right. So it's a niche sport.
Still never seen a single bean pot game.
Oh, really? Didn't I watch the other night because it was the only thing on NHL Network. You don't have the NHL Network, right?
I actually don't anymore. I just never. Our boy Nate Wells is saying he couldn't watch it in New York City. He's that's too bad I couldn't see it. And it just shows how much people really don't care outside of Boston.
Yeah, I mean, hey, great for them. They have it. It gets on Nesson. Nesson covers a ton of college hockey out there. They have a ton of games on, which is great. I'm more games on TV, the better.
I think Nesson needs to have their own streaming app.
Probably.
Because I think there's some college hockey fans that would add it if it was reasonable.
Do they not have anything like that for that league, like the Hockey East or anything? They just have games on Nesson, right? They don't have what BTN Plus or the
NCHC.
Yeah, the NCHC one or the CCHA. They don't have
I don't think so. I think they rely on CBS Sports Network and Nesson to carry a lot of their stuff. Last time I checked, like 2 years ago.
Nesson doesn't carry any of those. Nesson does do a lot. I mean, they're pretty much every weekend they have some games, but
I got to tell you, Viggs, I liked the Peacock streaming against Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. The stream quality was great. Announcers, they're going to be home announcers. That's fine.
Well, yeah, Steve
Conley. But I paid $4.99 for a month of Peacock for that. If that would have been the NCHC, it would have cost me a lot more for 2 games.
Yep. Peacock's great. I'm okay with paying $250 for.
And the thing is, it was perfect timing because I was telling people, get it for a month, shut it off. I think it's going to shut off on the 27th for me of February. And I can go watch the extra coverage of the Olympics for the price I paid for 2 games. So it was like a no-brainer for me. And the quality was great.
Yeah.
It was much better than the Bally's stream on Saturday.
Oh, I didn't get a chance. I was listening on the radio. How bad was Bally's?
It was bad.
Just their regular broadcast?
Yeah. And so the BTN Plus was bad and the stream now is bad. It just, cuts out a lot and it's got like that kind of ribbony stuff happening all the time.
I saw that on some of the replays that Minnesota was tweeting. Like they had a lot of artifacts and.
Yeah, it's not streaming or anything. It was something with Bally's feed to the truck or something. I don't know. Someone stepped on a wire or something. But Peacock was great.
The cold, the frozen. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame does it well. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I heard I was talking to Dan, their SID, about it. He said he could see it just going on to the whatever free Peacock is. In the future, kind of like what NBC Sports, because NBCSports.com, when you'd watch on there for free, right? In the past, with the game wasn't on.
Well, you had to make sure if you subscribe to NBC Sports Network, you could still get it back then.
I just remember being able to go on my computer and watch it if it wasn't on NBC Sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could go online for free. Maybe that was a couple years ago, but. He said it could be trending to go that way. They just didn't. I don't think they knew how to get it together that fast. Maybe this year, but I have Xfinity, so I had it for free. But yeah, I don't know. The only one thing I was asking him for, because I couldn't watch the games live, and he couldn't answer this, was how could I watch the an archive game, and he didn't have an answer for me. He didn't know. So.
Interesting enough, I was looking for the same thing and I couldn't find them.
Right. I mean, because I had the sites have that.
Yeah. Streaming. But the funny thing is I had set the Minnesota games as favorites.
My stuff.
Yeah, it was my stuff. That's what I set them as my stuff. And since I did that, I can go back and find those games.
Okay.
And I can find all the Notre Dame. I get like alerts now.
Yeah,
They think I'm
I can still go back
a Fighting
and watch
Irish hockey
those
fan.
games.
Okay, on your phone for Peacock there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure I could. He just didn't. At the time, he didn't have an answer. This was,
but he was right though, because I tried to go look back and try to find some of their previous games, and it was like I could only see future games.
You had to put like a note that you wanted that in your stuff.
Well, when
Like
the Minnesota games came up, I just set them under. When I saw them on the schedule, I set them as my stuff or whatever. And so now when I look at it, it's got a little replay icon up in the corner where I could replay the game if I want.
That's good.
But that's not as simple as just trying to go and look for their schedule and I want to watch this game or that game. So
yeah, BTN Plus has gotten a lot better, and I think they're putting an emphasis on making those broadcasts a little more legit. or you know what I mean? Because they're slowly trending to where things are moving in the world about, where streaming is becoming the way. Like they're having regular, I know Ohio State, they had, like guys with experience broadcasting doing the plus games. And I know Michigan does it. They get the radio call on there. But they've had a couple other, and I've heard that was where it's trending, is they're trying to have the plus, the streaming stuff, with a little more legitimacy broadcasts for you. So that, I don't know what's going to happen in the future with that, but we'll see.
By the way, if you are interested in the Peacock, you can hit the browse here, or you go to sports.
Yeah.
And then you scroll down here to latest events. Okay. And look, Notre Dame has their own icon. Yeah. It's like their own entity. And then you can just scroll through.
And it's got those games and stuff.
You can see all the hockey games here.
Perfect. It was just funny, and he just honestly didn't know yet. Because I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch those games, because I think I was in Madison a couple weeks ago for my one live call the whole season. It was enjoyable. And he didn't know, so that's good. That looks pretty simple. So,
and the stream quality was great, I thought.
It's probably the best I've seen, really, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was really good.
I could see that. Yeah, Notre Dame NBC's done a pretty good job.
And I just know that when I did the North Dakota series earlier this year, I think the second game was like at 6:00 instead of 7:00.
Mm-hmm.
So my 24-hour pass worked for the second game. So I'm like, ooh, this will work if I just do it right before 7:00. Right. And then if it's already started, the next game, the next day. I don't remember what the single day pass was. Still like
$14.
Yeah, $14. I'm like, it's steep. Whereas,
those budget schools, they have to figure it out. They're not like the Big Ten. I know somebody said it's all flights. It's a lot more than flights.
Sure.
They're paying for the X.
There's a lot of things going on there. But like Duluth is 20th in expenses. I think Minnesota State is like 28th, and then St. Cloud is like 33rd. And it's not because of flights. It's not the difference there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
What do you think of Granado's future?
Of who?
Granado. Eric Brever's asking. What do you?
Man, I don't know. The thing that sticks out to me, and I had him the last 2 weeks, so it was my first time really, seeing this team up close, aside from watching from afar, and they just kept taking terrible, undisciplined penalties. And it wasn't their freshmen; it was seniors, and it wasn't just Roman Ashan. It was Mersch. It was Mersch. It was Gorniak. I'm like, these are your better players and seniors. And they just kept and these were like retaliation penalties and silly things. And I'm like, well, what freshman is going to follow that when they see their seniors do that? And there's no
stick.
There's no ramifications.
Yeah.
Like there's no bench. Like sit his ass on the bench. Like then Kuhlman's on Friday night against the Buckeyes, they're up 3-1. He's got 2 goals. He's getting a guy's coming to hit him. He forearm shivers the guy in the head, gets 5 in a game. He's gone. The Buckeyes come back, tie it, win the game in overtime. And I'm just like, and he's a mild-mannered guy. I'm like, and he's having a great game. It's not like he should be mad in any way. But it was just like, where does this end?
What the hell?
And it's just, I guess that's my thing with Tony, and I love it. He's the nicest guy in the world. Talks to us all the time, but you got to hold. I play. Everyone who played hockey long enough that did it. You got to hold guys accountable, or it's just going to keep happening over and over. And it just hasn't this year. Obviously, a tough year for them, but I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
Minnesota, we have not seen guys held very accountable over the
McLaughlin
years.
For a little bit.
For whatever reason, McLaughlin would get benched every once in a while when he would do something bad, but hardly anybody gets. Brodzinski is the other one who gets, benched or put on another line. But otherwise, it's kind of free reign for guys to have a lot of rope. Like, does Rolick do that early in the year and he just figures it out?
I guess you don't see guys. These were just some really blatant penalties.
Right.
It's different. I don't know. I mean, you don't see that across any teams that often to consistently do it, right? I think anyone can get away with it once. You'll get, especially if you're a McLaughlin who's a great player, probably not going to get benched that first time, right? But if it becomes a consistent thing,
but when your senior 3-year captain doesn't have a power play point in your 20-some games in the year, and there's no ramifications to that.
That's a different. That's not the same. I was talking about discipline.
Well, I look at discipline as discipline for turning pucks over, disciplines for not back checking, discipline for not taking penalties. Because I know those guys have taken a lot of offensive zone penalties too.
Yeah.
Discipline for not competing on faceoffs. These are all the problems I see as a person up top watching the game. I go,
sure.
How can you continue to let players do that stuff with no stick? And teams like Duluth don't do that. Teams like Ohio State, when they're humming, don't do that. But teams like Minnesota, Wisconsin, seems to happen a lot.
I think it's you get a lot, when you talk Minnesota and Wisconsin, you get a lot of blue chip 18-year-old kids, and
on a platter.
You don't want to make anyone unhappy.
Edina.
Well, look at U.S. national program, elite player. Michigan too. Ohio State gets older players for the most part. They're in the Duluth and those boats in terms of they're not getting the 18-year-old blue chip guys that have been recruited since they were 14 or 15-year-olds and can't do anything. They can't do wrong, in terms of certain mentalities. I think, I don't know, if you keep winning, you keep going. Like I said, Ohio State's power play stinks too, but they keep running the same guys out there. I asked Rolick too. I asked him, well, when are you going to give someone else a shot? He's like, these are our best guys. I don't, I'm trying,
that was the answer Don gave me at the end of the time too.
You're trying to keep put it in their heads to do this, shoot the puck, and hopefully one day they'll do it, right? I had that experience, and I had blue chip guys with me. I had Umberger, Steckel, Kessler. They could do whatever. They never would have got sat for any reason, unless maybe I don't even know. But our coach was also an insanely whatever. But
cutting open a wound.
Yeah, no. I mean, we had a lot of success for how bad a coach he was. We had a lot of success. But yeah, I think there's certain thing with that. Like, you've had these. Sammy's been what? How long was he a recruit for them before he went there? That has something to do with it. Like, you believe in these guys, and they're gonna figure it out, and you're gonna keep throwing them out there until I don't know, till the end, probably, unless they were losing. I mean, they're in a pretty good position right now, right?
That they are for most teams in college hockey, but not for Minnesota. I get in this debate with people all the time about attendance and interest in the program. And there's only going to be interest at Minnesota again if they are in Frozen Fours and have a national title. Until they get to that point, I think it's even hard to talk about interest getting anywhere near where it was 10 years ago.
Well, right, because you're paying for tickets every year for a team, price-wise, for a team that should be in Frozen Fours and national championships. If that's where, if you're looking at the measurement of ticket prices for the whole country, they're at the top. So they should be at the top, or at least that's probably what fans expect, I would think. You're going to demand that, as a customer, right?
There's a couple ways to look at that. I've been getting in debates with that with people as well. The Minneapolis market is a pretty affluent market in comparison to others in college hockey.
Sure.
And the price that you're paying for your ticket is not the price you're paying for value. You are investing. College sports are different than pro athletics. You're investing in the student athletes and the coaching and administration it takes to support them. That's a different proposition than paying for the Wild, who are giving half of that revenue to players, hockey related revenue, and the other half is going to coaches, administration, and then the rest goes in the owner's pocket.
Sure.
So that's a very different thing to me. It's like, one, you're funding student athlete opportunities and supporting an institution that you're obviously choosing to support, and the other is making people rich.
Yeah, I just think it's not. The fans aren't thinking about that though. They're thinking, where am I going to spend my extra money on entertainment?
But I'm convinced Minnesota has a fan base of like 3,000 people that, regardless of the success, as long as it's not embarrassing, will keep donating money and buying season tickets.
Sure, 3,000, but not 7 or 8.
And that's what we're seeing at the building right now. When their season,
the students look great.
Students have been great.
Like
the students are being expanded too.
That's where that's where the TV should only wander over to the student section.
They're expanding the student section for the Big Ten playoffs.
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I would give the students 5 sections for the next decade.
They should get from
11 to 15.
Dash to dash.
11 to 15 is what they'll have for the tournament.
They should have that going forward.
12 through 14.
But so what's going to happen with the tournament? Say they're hosting a first round series. How many people are going to come? Isn't that the high school hockey?
Oh yeah,
it's the eyesore.
I was there one year. Remember, there was like 72 people.
I haven't.
Maybe 82.
You could have counted them if you were a real pro, Cappy. If you were a real pro, you would have counted them.
Yeah, I think Voster's did. Voster's has got that magic mind that he probably counted them in like 10 seconds.
By the way, after I look this up, I might have to bring up the Voster TikTok.
Oh,
do you know the one I'm talking about?
Is this Beijing gear stuff?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
I didn't see it.
It's embarrassingly funny, and I think our viewers will enjoy it.
I think he should. He's ridiculous, but he loves his swag bags. He loves them. I think he does that TikTok every time because this is his 3rd Olympics, so good for him. But I think he's done it every time.
Humble brag.
He definitely does that. But what do you think would happen? Aren't the students going to be gone again? Like, isn't it spring break?
That's what I'm looking at. Spring break looks like March 7th.
That's when it begins?
Yep.
Well, so they'll be gone that weekend.
Through March 18th.
Oh.
So they'd be there the quarterfinal.
They'd be leaving.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The 4th, if
that's both weekends. The only time they'd have students would be for the final. And now they would just be coming back, right? Isn't that what you're saying? The 18th is the final.
7th to the 18th is spring break.
Yeah, but the 7th is the Monday, so they're done on Friday.
That's what I mean. They're gone. They're gone on
the quarterfinal.
They're gone on the 4th or 5th.
And they're opening up multiple sections.
It's like 2 weeks. What are you talking about? Wouldn't they be back on like the 13th?
They get 2 weeks for spring break around here.
You get 2 weeks for spring break?
Yeah.
What? Where is
Yeah, I
what
don't.
school did I go to? I went to the wrong school.
In fact, there it is. Spring break is 2 weeks now.
What?
I mean, that's what it looks like to me.
That's kind of nice. Sign me up for that. I didn't get that in college.
I was going to get to that, Steve. Hold on. Let's,
I don't know. Maybe they're back. Maybe they're back on the 15th.
But my point is that first round series, they're not going to have fans.
They might not. Viggs, did you hear anything from the grapevine of what happened after the game?
Oh yeah,
Saturday night when the Michigan guys got extra.
Nothing
penalties.
from the grapevine other than they just got assist penalties and don't do that again.
Like they told them to F off in the locker room or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that was what's his name? Joshua, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joshua and Middendorf, I think. But
yes.
All right, maybe spring break is just the 7th or the 11th. But I see a second session starts on the 15th. So maybe they have Monday off too.
Right. So you could, and a lot of kids maybe won't go.
Thanks, Grace.
You know, who knows, right? But there you go. Thank you. I was gonna say I should
female listener. All right.
2 weeks for spring break. That would have been fantastic.
My kids get 2 weeks.
But so I mean, honestly though, so say they're hosting Wisconsin back-to-back weekends. What's the difference in the crowd from senior night? Which that, by the way, that Saturday game has not been filled in yet as a broadcast. I'm assuming it's going to be BTN. They did it last year. Last year we got that last Michigan game in the last hour. Me and Chris drove up to Madison to broadcast the game from a closet. And it ended up not meaning anything. I think someone clinched it the night before or something like that. But yeah, what's going to happen? They're going to host Wisconsin on the last weekend, and then the next weekend they could be hosting them again. And what are we talking about for a crowd?
Nobody home.
Or maybe, in COVID era, people won't travel and they'll just go to hockey games, right? We don't have to have our vaccination stuff at the buildings anymore. So
I think it'll clearly be better than, whatever that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that was those guys' freshman year. It was Sammy Walker and McLaughlin were freshmen, I believe, that time around. And we came up there to do those games. I don't know what's going to happen with that weekend. Somebody's got to broadcast. It's usually BTN will, I think in the past, has always produced your guys' games. Yeah. And whether they were on Bally's or whatever, you guys got them somehow in some way. One year, I think it was at Penn State. The remember you guys had that rough stretch but couldn't win at Penn State. Is that a couple of years?
That rough stretch?
It's still
2 years in a row.
It's still a stretch.
Oh, so this is these 2 weekends. So this is why you're talking about Murderers Row for the Gophers these 2 weeks.
This is not a good stretch for them. They are not playing teams they do well against.
Well, I think they'll get 2 at least. Penn State. I don't know. I don't know what to think about them. I think they're the best of the bottom. I think they just can't. They need a goalie. They just don't have a goalie.
I haven't watched Penn State.
And I like those guys. Audio's an athletic guy, but they don't have a 900 save percentage. Last time they were good was when they had a goalie. Jones was not great, but he was solid. Oh, there it is. Get Foster's counting on those.
Yeah, that was that puck drop.
That was amazing. I could not believe what I was seeing. Then I
was able to go back and view the activity. Over 209,000 impressions.
Right, it got more impressions just by the sheer amazement of that happening.
Yes.
I mean that. Yeah, and they were really good in that series too. But yeah,
it was a cluster, another cluster.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have a feeling. I don't know if it'll be that bad, Viggs, but
so Viggs, if they split, are they pretty much stay in the same spot? They both win one game, they pretty much stay in the same. I think Minnesota maybe would get a little. Isn't it road wins give you a little bump?
I mean, maybe just a little, but it's not enough to make a difference.
Okay.
So,
Well, did you see they dropped because Duluth got a tie last night?
yeah, but it's like
I know.
0.003. It's like the
It's
amount
like
that Duluth got in that 1 year.
What's the deal with Michigan Tech? How are they 6th? They're like 15-10.
That's a
Who
good
did they
question.
play in their non-conference? That was like, who did they beat?
Well,
Pairwise
let's take a look.
annoys
I
me.
know Jess Myers went on the Michigan Tech podcast, and he was ambushed a little bit with some questions because I think they're high in the pairwise, but not in the poll. And
Who's
he was
this?
like, Jess Myers.
Oh,
He went on their podcast, and he was, a little unprepared to talk about the success of the Huskies. But like, they've got a sweep over Wisconsin. They got a split with Clarkson. They swept St. Thomas as expected. They got swept by Minnesota State.
They tied Michigan.
They tied Michigan State, which probably
tied
helps them.
They tied St. Thomas.
Okay.
They tied St. Thomas.
They did tie St. Thomas.
They blew a 2-goal lead against them.
Well, that was just the other day.
Sorry. I know it was.
Yeah,
that just happened. I know. I remember. It was 2 weeks ago. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but
they've done well in their cute little conference.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but not that. They're 15-10, right?
Right. They're 14-5-1 in their league.
And that league's dreadful.
Right.
After Minnesota State.
Right.
I mean, Bemidji's okay.
I'm not trying to defend them, Cappy. I'm just saying
that's
that
why
pairwise they are pulling off the Penn State to a T right now. Do you remember that Penn State?
They're not losing to bad teams.
I thought it was the Arizona State. Both, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're not losing to bad teams.
I mean, hey,
if they lose to a bad team coming up, it'll kill them.
Like if they would have lost to St. Thomas instead of get that tie,
yeah,
that would have been bad.
That's just a little bit of what's wrong with the system, though.
Yes.
Like if I'm a team, then I'm playing like the NHL. I'm like, just get the tie or just get me to overtime.
Yep.
And that is.
But I think what we're talking about though is that just get to the end of the 60 minutes and get the tie.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the NHL teams do on the road. They're like, oh, just get it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there should be no overtime. I think that's where we landed.
That's what I mean.
There just shouldn't be overtime in college hockey.
Well, or it shouldn't count.
It
should count for. I think the conference play should do it for point, like they do. Like the shootout is done for point. You play the overtime for the fans and for the point in your conference.
But then people are gonna still say you swept them if you won the.
Who cares though?
Like that's the same thing as it is right now. It doesn't really mean anything now. You get a 0.05 extra in the pairwise right now.
Yeah, I'll fine then. Just bag it. I just don't. Or play the 5-on-5. Play 5-on-5. Play 4-on-4.
But the NCHC won't do that, and they'll call you. They'll call you names
if you want to play 5-on-5 overtime.
Yeah,
because why?
Because they want to match the NHL.
They want to be the NHL.
Why?
Yeah, they do. Because they're the NCHC and they think they're the best conference in hockey.
Well, and they also have
they got a lot of national titles.
What's that?
They got a lot of national titles in their conference office.
They do.
Yeah.
They also have a bit of a complex.
They do have a complex.
So
small school complex.
Right. Which, whatever. I mean, it's fine. But I don't like how these are. You go to 3. It's 3-on-3. It's not
hockey.
It's not 5-on-5. Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I love to watch it, but you're getting too much credit for a win.
Do you go back to even the older system, Biggs? 2 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, overtime, 5-on-5. I mean, just the old school rules.
I don't like bonus points, if that's what you're getting at.
Because, like I said, let's say the old WCHA days, 2 points for a win, no points for loss, 1 point for a tie, but the tie only happened after you got through overtime.
Well, that's how the Big Ten was. If you went to 5-on-5 overtime, it was still all up for grabs.
Was it?
Which is
you only went for the third point in the shootout.
When you played 5-on-5 overtime.
5-on-5 overtime, you still are playing for all 3 points.
Yep. Which is the way I think it probably should be in college hockey.
I agree. If you get to the end of 5-on-5 overtime,
that's it. And you play for your shootout is for the
1 point each, and then maybe another point for the
for the shootout. You want to play for a point.
Yeah,
and the fans love that. And who cares at that point? Because then it's not. It's going to be a tie in the standings. It's going to be a tie in the. When you look at when USCHO puts out there, okay, this team beat this team. They tied on Friday 1-1, but Michigan beat Minnesota 3-2 on Saturday. Then it's a win and a tie, not they split. Well, did they split because one team won in overtime, the other team won in regulation when you're playing 3-on-3 in overtime? I mean, if you talk to Western Michigan people, they'll tell you they swept Michigan. Anytime you see that on Twitter, like, we destroyed Michigan both nights, I'm like, you beat them soundly, and then you tied them the next night at home, which is still a really good weekend. But slow down a little bit, just a little.
Oh boy, here now the girlfriend's chiming in here. Shocking. Just show more puppy dogs or puppies.
Is that
careful what you say there? Show more puppies.
You're wait, that's your girlfriend's name?
Yes, it is.
Well, she won't be disappointed this weekend because I'm sure all 4 of those dogs will be there and maybe more. Who knows? But there will definitely be 4, rescue dogs in the student section in Columbus. I'd be shocked if they're not.
And like I said, wasn't it the Michigan player who went over to it?
Yeah.
That
was the cool part. It was totally like reactionary. Like he scores a goal and he just, keeps gliding. And then all of a sudden he looks and he's
got a dog.
And what do you do when you see a cute dog? He he waved at him and smiled. I mean, he's already happy because he scored a goal. It was Blankenberg, their captain. And then it's just, we had their series. We had one against Notre Dame, one against Wisconsin, and then this weekend 2 more. So we've had a lot of Ohio State games at home. So those dogs are the stars of the year.
So what are you guys doing for the Big Ten playoffs then?
What do you mean?
I mean, is Minnesota going to get it if they're at home? Or is it going to be something where like maybe Bally's picks it up and it's still maybe a Big Ten?
You mean the first round?
Yeah. What are you?
I think it's going to be. I assume it's going to be the same because isn't Bally's going to be busy with the tournament? The high school, don't they do the high school hockey?
Doesn't do anything in the tournament. Yeah.
They don't. I don't know. It's always been BTN producing it, and then Bally's carrying it. Hasn't that always kind of been the case?
I don't remember anymore.
For that,
I think it's usually been Bally's carrying it.
But because I did it one year. I know it's been done a couple of years by our guys. So I don't know.
Because they want it available on the BTN Plus for everybody, and so they'll pick one game to send the A crew to, like Cappy. And that's how
I'm not doing any playoff games. Well, as of now, I'm not. So I'm going to be in the studio.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, the first round, maybe. I don't know. That if they decide to do have us do that, I could be doing that. But semifinals and finals, I'll be in the studio. I think Dan's got one semifinal. Ben Holden's got the other. And then I think Ben Holden's got the final. I'm not sure on that one for sure. Dan or Ben, but that's how that is. And then I think I'll be on site, they said, barring, I think if it's at Michigan, something about COVID. They might be the only ones with COVID rules that wouldn't want that. But if it's at Mariucci or Columbus, I think I would be, maybe Pizzo and I would be there on site for like a studio show or something. So, yeah. What were you pointing to the bed?
Yeah, I got space. We got space now. House is expanding.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I was told plan wise.
So yeah, when you were here with the Vosters for that series, it was a Big Ten production.
Yes.
back in 20.
That's why they hired. That's why we did the game. I would assume
Yep.
they would have had Charlie do it if it wasn't, or maybe he was doing high school. I don't know. What channel is that on? That's on local TV.
45.
Okay.
It's a local network. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. I actually, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, that Sunday, I do have a Blackhawks game. So
Big
I don't know
time.
how that works.
NHL just
Hey,
picking
man.
everybody off.
Hey, honestly, if I'm
Cappy,
doing,
would you have left Ohio State mid-season to go sign a contract to play 2 NHL
mid-season?
games?
Hell yeah, you would have.
and then get buried in the East Coast League?
Yeah. Well, he's in Chicago right now.
He got his first win.
I thought that's what he was wearing. I was like, what is he wearing Chicago?
Yeah.
You should go see him.
Good for him. I'm sure he got what, $90,000 bonus.
Yeah, he got the max bonus he could get.
I mean, I hate to tell him, but that's not life-altering money in the long run. Oh,
Look at that.
Auto restart. Look at that. Or maybe you ran out of battery. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh,
with
that's
Cappy.
hilarious.
Oh no. Lost.
You
it.
heard the Windows sound.
Yeah.
Let me just pull him from the pot broadcast.
Yeah.
That was
It's all right.
awesome. Just look at it. Oh.
Yeah. Good.
Oh.
We're actually gaining viewers tonight as we
Yep,
go
his
into
battery
overtime.
died.
Yeah.
He could try his phone if he wants.
I don't think he's done. He's got more to say.
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me.
I gotta say this prize beer is really good.
Well, that's good.
For anyone intrigued, if you can get the Brewers Reserve, I don't know how many bottles there were, but I've got 40, bottle number 40, which is good. But
my back?
Oh yeah, that was awesome. We heard the sound. We heard your Windows machine go doo-doo-doo, and all of a sudden.
Well, it said I had 8%, so I was just plugging it. Now I'm on my phone, so I didn't think it would go from 8 to 0.
It does that.
Yeah. So yeah,
I've never used. I hardly ever use
now
it.
the computer's trying to get back together, but just hang on my phone now. It's easy to get back on quick.
Yeah, I did send you the link, so that was good. Yeah, that was good though. That was quality stuff right there. That's overtime right there, Biggs.
That's
classic.
Right.
That's why we do it live.
That's right. What were we just talking about? I don't remember now.
Well, I brought up Laugh signing his contract with Carolina.
Right.
He got 122,000.
Right. And then he's making now he's in the A, but he made, he was making his paycheck for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Although someone told me that if he was on the taxi squad, he wasn't getting NHL money.
Right. You get like a bonus $500 besides your AHL money.
Yeah.
But he was on,
per
for
diem.
a week, he was at least on the team because he played.
Yes. Until the backup got healthy and now was like player of the week.
Right. So he probably got like a $20 salary, or whatever for that $20,000 salary.
I'm gonna go refill my water real quick.
Amount at a time, that is. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody it's a bad idea. Goalie world is a whole different thing too.
Right.
I mean, that's the one where you can play in the Coast and the NHL in the same year. So you're not seeing any players do that generally.
Yeah,
except for maybe this year because of COVID.
We had that conversation with Shearhorn.
Yeah.
And
what did he think?
He's like, he couldn't fault him. And I was like, oh, really?
Would he have done it?
He said it would have been hard not to.
All right. I'm sure.
And I've heard from other people who are closer to the program than I am who said they're not going to tell him not to because, like,
right,
that money's not there next year. It's not.
No. He'd get an AHL deal for like $30,000, maybe.
Right, but is it?
He probably would have been a free agent, to be honest. Right.
Right. He could have been.
Or he could have been.
He could have been. He could have gone to next August and been a free agent and signed a deal with someone who probably had a bad goalie situation like Edmonton or Seattle. Those two teams are begging for good goaltending.
Washington, Edmonton. For the life of me, I can't explain what goes on there. They keep
Right.
re-signing Mike Smith. He's like 41 years old, and he's not been good in like 6 years.
Right. I
I'm
mean, that
like-
would be like the Wild sticking with Alex Stalock for the rest of the year. I'm sure he's a great guy.
Right.
He's probably fun in the locker room, but he's not an everyday goalie.
Edmonton is it's so obvious for like 4 years now that Edmonton's a goalie away, and they still haven't done anything about it.
I think they're more than a goalie away, but I think a goalie would
But
make them
they're
a
goalie
playoff
away
team.
from being
They're-
at least like a legit playoff team and a contender.
Right. They would be a playoff team with good goaltending.
If you're in the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yep.
I think their defense has gotten better.
Nurse
but-
has been really good, and
Yeah, they just rely on their power play way too much to be a good playoff team. And 2 players. But
helps to have those 2 good players though. Like
it
the Wild are
does,
finally
but
the Wild are finally fun to watch. I watched that game over
Dude.
Chicago 5-rip.
yeah, I was doing that game. Wait, which one? The last one? The one
Wednesday?
right after the one right after the right? So
Well, I was
Yes.
at the U.S. national team
did the game
soccer
start
game.
at 8:52 Central Time? That
Yes.
game? Yes.
Yep.
So you guys want to know a fun fact about my my record this year? So I've done on my own when it's just me and John Weidman, who's the play-by-play guy. I've done 14 games. I've done 3 other games where Troy Murray, who's the regular guy who's battling cancer, was able to come and, you know, he did the games, and I was there, and I did pre and post game show, and they went 2-0-1. They 2-1-2, and they got an overtime point in the third. In the 14 games, TV and radio, because I did 2 TV games and then the rest radio. My record is 1-13. And of those 13 losses, I'd say 10 of them were not pretty. And I'm just thinking, because like I was watching the game tonight, getting ready, and they're in Edmonton, right? And they beat Edmonton 4-1 and looked like a team that's like kind of legit. And I'm just thinking, and I texted Colby because Colby Cohen did the game, and I said, "Hey Colby, what's it like to broadcast a game where the Hawks play well?" You know, like in a joking way. And he just like laughed. He sent the laughing emoji. I'm just like, I hope they don't realize this and take away the rest of my games the rest of the year. Clearly, it's not my fault. I have no control, but that is literally my.
There's a lot of superstition in hockey, though.
I know. That's why I only say this in overtime. When
I was listening to Lou Nanny this week on one of the local radio stations, K-Fan, and he's like, the Wild are undefeated when I do games. If they want me to do more, I think there's probably proof that the people doing the games pay more attention to that record than anybody else.
Of course.
It's not your fault, Cappy.
No, I know, but literally though, but I've had so many stinkers, man. And talk about, you know, I'm filling in for two TV games I did over New Year's. I'm filling in for like the best in the business, you know, Eddie O. And these 2 games, they just were just like they weren't even good. And then the third period, you're just like, what do you say here? Because you can't rip the team, and you don't want to like be totally ridiculous and say, oh well, they're a 1 shot away from getting back in this game when it's 5-1 and the third period was 7 minutes to go. It's just like, man. I mean, hey, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, whoa, it was.
Well, what are you going to talk about this weekend when
interesting.
Minnesota's up by 3 or 4 goals?
This is national broadcast. I'll rip the Buckeyes and say how good Minnesota's playing. I'm on a local team broadcast. You got to be. I mean,
on a local team broadcast, you're either selling winning or you're selling hope.
Exactly.
Right? So,
and BTN is a national broadcast.
You can do whatever you want
and
on national, right?
Yeah, and whatever you want to call it.
You can be like Anson Carter and just say, well, clearly one team has no depth. Have you heard this blow up, Cappy?
No. What did
when the Wild were on TNT, I think it had to be Wednesday.
Recent.
He basically
that night.
He basically just said like this win really doesn't mean anything. They're playing Chicago and they're up 5-0. Chicago's a broken team.
Right.
He's like, I remember them in the Winter Classic when they lost to St. Louis, and it's just clear that this team has no depth.
Wow.
And like Russo called him on it on Twitter the next day. He's like,
oh really?
Yeah, he's like, Wild fans and Wild media, Russo, you're crying about my comment. Cool it, back off. I'm a national guy, and
Really?
it was interesting Twitter fodder for the week.
That is interesting because this is like the first time I've thought of Minnesota as actually being a good watch. Because for years I was like the Wild and the Devils. I cannot watch those two teams play hockey. They were just boring
Wild are fun
teams
this
to
year.
watch. Dude, Kirill is probably the most fun guy to watch outside of Connor McDavid in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's box office.
How much does Kirill want to be at the Olympics right now?
Not as much as Ovechkin. Nobody wants to be there more than Ovi.
Wasn't he the gold-winning goal last time?
Yeah, in the last Olympics.
Kaprizov
has put in
17?
his time. Yeah, well, he's a little older than that, but he's put in his time.
Wait, Kirill?
Yeah, he's 25 right now.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah, he's old. He's
No
been
kidding.
playing in the KHL for a long time.
Because the KHL,
Wow.
he was stuck there.
I did not let him go.
Oh, okay.
He won the Olympics for the Russian Olympic Committee, whatever team.
Well, right. I mean, how could he not? I mean, he's an NHL talent playing against a bunch of,
Yeah.
we're gonna see.
What do you guys think? What do you think of the Olympics?
Yes, I'm gonna watch just a little, but I'm not gonna be stuck to it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Latvia is playing Sweden right now on CNBC.
What's this China team? It's like
Peter Chelios is on it, or not Peter Chelios. Chris Chelios' son is on it. I
What?
just turned on. Sweden is up
They're your typical host team.
2-0 in the second period. CNBC. Sorry to interrupt, but that's what's. I think they took all the players, right, Viggs, from that there's a Chinese team in the KHL, right?
Yeah, they were trying to
could-
build a. They were trying to build a team for this that
Right.
would not embarrass the president.
Right. Except for they're all like Americans and Canadians that are going to do it
Who
for them.
have some sort of birth connection to China, legal
Sure they do.
Olympians.
Yeah, Chris
Yeah.
Chelios is somehow
Right.
Chinese in some
It's like
way.
when Mike Piazza played for the Italian baseball team,
Right. Well, that makes a little more sense. He's Italian descent, at least.
Well, I think they're trying to find connections with these people. Like, there's something.
It's better though, because you don't want team to lose 25-2 or something.
No, that doesn't help
Especially if
anybody.
the NHL guys were there, this would have been really bad, right?
Yeah.
Do you imagine Team Canada playing China? We're talking 20.
it may still
at
be
least
really
20
bad.
rip. You're talking 20 rip easy.
Couldn't
If-
it be? What could
As
it be?
many
about?
as they want. Like, we've seen international games in the past where goal differential comes into play in these C and D pool games where the teams just have no mercy and they're trying to score as many goals as they can. It's like 80-1, 80-0, 100-1 in shots, stuff like that. That's not good.
Yeah. Honestly, in these
Half
Olympics,
female games.
I'm interested in watching the young guys. There's a lot more college guys this year than last time. Last time it was Troy Terry and
Greenway and Donato.
There's 3 guys. They had 3. Yeah, and Canada didn't have any. And I guess
they were the best players.
Kent Johnson got bumped up, which is good. Like, it's a joke that he's not on the team and he's not playing. I'm looking at their roster. I'm like, he's better than half of those guys.
Right.
Or he's at least potentially better, and people will want to watch him because
he will bring more offense.
And he'll bring more
any of those
eyes
guys.
to it, too.
Yeah.
No offense to – I can't name other guys in their team besides Stahl and David Desharnais, but I want to watch Ken Johnson, and I think people in the NHL want to watch Ken Johnson. They sure as hell want to watch Owen Power play 30 minutes, which he should.
Same thing with the World Championship. People watch the
course.
World Championship because they wanted to see how Owen Power would do in the World Championship.
Right. And he went from playing 5 minutes to playing 28 minutes. And that'll have same thing. Well, these guys already know. Like they know. Team Canada knows that he's whatever. But yeah, with the NHL or with the USA team now, what do they have? About 8 or 10 of them are guys in college now.
Well, it's more than that, right?
Is it more?
Yeah.
I know they were all college
3 for
players.
Minnesota,
at one
3 for
point or another.
Michigan, St. Cloud,
Smith from
North
Minnesota State.
Dakota,
Minnesota State.
Anderson.
I mean, you got 5 from Minnesota and Michigan.
He's bringing it up.
Sanderson,
North Dakota. What's his face from Mankato?
Smith.
Who was it
BU,
from?
Perbix
Was it
from
McLaughlin
Perbix from
from
St. Cloud.
BC? This is maybe 10 at least, right? At least 10. And then you got Comesso from BU. I don't know if he's going to play. Maybe Strauss-Mann plays. I don't know. I think they start Strauss-Mann maybe. Maybe they get a little, pressure from USA Hockey to play Comesso instead.
15 college players.
Well, then for
Dryden
sure I'm going
McKay.
to watch.
What do you think that they didn't pick Dryden
more
McKay?
intently.
Is Dryden McKay overrated?
Yes, I think he's a good goalie. He's overrated, yes, because his team gives up 5 shots a game.
He's a good college goalie. He's a fine college goalie. He's a Janisak. He's not a Jim Craig.
Oh, I like that analysis.
He is a good goalie. I mean, he's a good
goalie.
But his team is always dominant, and they don't give up anything.
And they allow him to be super aggressive, because he's not a big goalie. So he challenges shooters so hard because he doesn't have to worry about a pass across because he knows his team is going to
or
take
a
that
second
away.
shot or a rebound.
Right. He knows he can be super aggressive on any shooter because he's not going to get beat on the back door.
And
how does Minnesota beat that then, Biggs? Because last year they obviously couldn't.
Don't turn the puck over, Jupe.
Well, they just got to be more mature. You're playing a team that's just plays tough, and you just can't.
And it's better this year.
You got to grind.
I don't know if they're better this year.
I watched Michigan play them this year, and that was a good game. And Michigan was patient and waited for those few times that they got some skill plays, and then that's what separates Michigan is Brisson needs one shot, or he needs one rush, or Bordelot to make one pass cross ice that's pure. And that's how they won that game.
And that's kind of what Minnesota did to Michigan State on Friday. They got down.
Michigan State.
Right.
College teams do the same stuff, though. Like, they'll make a bad line change. Or one guy will be lazy getting back because he's on a long shift. If you make them work and put them in long shift situations.
Right.
Like, that stuff happens if you play smart. And then all of a sudden there's space for you to make a play. And that's your opportunity to make it. And if you're Brisson, if you're Sammy Walker, if you're Blake McLaughlin, you're Jackson Lacombe, you are talented enough to make that play in space, but you can't just force that situation. You have to play the game and wait for those chances and then use your talent.
Yeah, that's not always easy to do. It's just not. In the heat of a battle, if you're pissed off or frustrated or something, it's just not always easy to do it.
Comes in.
It can, but
it's also character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or lessons learned from the past. That's why generally it's freshmen making those, because those guys that are older have made those have fixed those, but maybe somebody hasn't yet because Vigo's about to say something.
And also guys who've played a lot of junior hockey.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a high school player, you have pretty much always, if you're playing at Minnesota or Michigan, you have always been able to just impose yourself on the game and say, you know what? I'm going to take the puck coast to coast 10 times. I'm going to score at least one of those times.
Right.
In college, you do that, you're probably going to give up 2 or 3 goals.
Right. Well,
rather than score.
Well, that's where Michigan has the little benefit because most of their young guys are playing in the NHL as 16 and 17-year-olds. It's the only difference I'll tweak. Then Minnesota's got that rare thing. They're the only place in the country that has that, where guys come from dominating high school hockey, they go right to college, or they'll play a little that year, they'll play a little USHL, but those Mr. Hockey guys are generally just going right from high school to the U.
Bob is starting to change that a little bit.
Sure.
But it's still trickling in.
Sure. You got to, like, try to do a mix, right?
Yeah. Like, you want to bring in, I think if I was constructing a college roster, I would bring in one defenseman and one forward a year who is like that first round talent who wants to come in at
Right.
That 19, 18 and a half age, and the rest you have to play junior. I'm never going to bring in 5 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds,
But
everyone
those
else
guys are going to go somewhere else then, right? Unless
that's
they
fine.
are dying to go to the U.
You got to pick the right ones.
Sure.
You can't pick all of them in the same age class. And I think that's one of the things Bob's is dealing with right now is like, these guys want to come here.
Right.
How do I balance it? How do I figure it out?
Well, and how do you know who's staying and who's going?
Yep.
That's the other thing is, I don't know what's going to happen with Wisconsin next year. They were talking like they want all those guys to come back because they don't have anyone coming in. They only have like a couple guys coming in. And I'm like, they said they have one guy coming in that's a forward that's like a blue chip guy. Can't remember his name.
Hold on, though. Weren't they just in a situation where they were over recruiting? Biggs?
I mean, they're always over recruiting, but how many of them are ready to come in? Because they are cutthroat with letting guys.
Or they've already said goodbye
spot.
to some. I know a kid that's from the Chicago area that's already, gotten cut loose from his,
I mean, there were like 5 guys.
There
were like 5 guys committed to Minnesota verbally who Bob was like, it's not going to work out. I'm not going to do anything. You can say you're a verbal commit. It'll still be on your line chart, but look for another spot.
Right.
And a lot of those guys wait until they have another spot
Right.
before they make it public.
Sure.
And their advisor is saying, hey, I don't think it's going to work out in Minnesota. Do you have a spot for my guy? And sometimes with those guys, it gets to the point where they're just like, all right, we got to take that commit off your sheet.
Right.
Before it's going to be real.
Yeah, it's gotten to be pretty wild now with how things work.
And what's even worse is it's going to take another 2 or 3 years to get through the COVID stuff with the extra eligibility and messing rosters up.
Except for the scholarships won't be there. The extra money. You have to be back to the 18 scholarships, I believe, starting next year. No more. You can't have bonus guys now.
Okay.
You can, but now say Sammy Walker and they wanted Blake and Sammy back next year. They could do that, but I'm just saying this is just hypothetical.
Hypothetically, if they were to come back,
right? This is hypothetical. Then they would tell 2 guys to not come next year if they wanted to have scholarships. As opposed to this year, they could have had those scholarships along. You could have had 20 scholarships
if the AD would have paid for it.
Right.
That was the other thing on top of it.
Right.
Is like,
so I'm sure those discussions.
Brandon McManus could have came back if Mark Hoyle said yes. I'm going to give an extra.
I was told that he wasn't invited back.
Well, that's probably why, because he wasn't going to get his school paid for.
I'm sure it's probably a little bit of both.
And he was a good enough player that he could have gone to dozens of schools.
Yep. I mean, he beat North Dakota the other night in overtime.
Has he had a good year? I haven't seen his numbers or anything.
He's had a great year.
Nathan
Burke had a great year for Bowling Green.
Sure.
Jared Moe's been okay for Wisconsin.
I think he's been better than okay. They're just
terrible.
They don't score, and he's got to make every save, or it's. They look like what in terms of scoring and all that.
I'll be back.
And then with the veteran goalie, they look a lot like Ohio State last year, where Tommy Napier.
He shut off the camera.
What's he got to go do? He's got to, yeah.
Jeez.
But they remind me of a little bit with Ohio State, like last year. Tommy Napier needed to make every save to feel like they're in the game, and then you're trying too hard, and then you're giving up 3 or 4.
That Saturday game in for Wisconsin, Ohio State got away from Wisconsin real fast. I swear I was watching it. It was a real close game. All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. I'm like,
good.
What the hell?
Yeah, good first period. They were right there, pretty even, and then 2 goals, and then it was like, good night, Irene, because that's what happens with teams that are struggling. As soon as it becomes too tough, and you don't score a lot of goals, you're like, how do we come back when we're down 4-1? We don't score more than 2.5 goals a game. Players think that once it's this far in the season, you know what you are. There's maybe an outlier here or there, but like that, that's in your head. As soon as that 4th goal, I don't watched it. Tony was like yelling at him on bench. And just, it was more about just like, you know, lazy, stupid ways they were losing or giving up those goals. And he's like, hey, you know, you can't, you got to keep battling, blah, blah, blah. But you could just see it kind of, it's tough to do. It's tough to keep that mental.
Unfortunately, it hurts the Big Ten when Wisconsin's down. It just is.
It does. But
from where they were last year.
Sure. The Big Ten's in a pretty good spot this year with the 4 that are up there, though. So, you know, I think.
Yeah, I was looking at the numbers here.
In terms of what?
Okay, so Minnesota, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, and Wisconsin have all won regular season titles. Michigan's only won.
Michigan hasn't?
Michigan has not won a regular season title.
Playoff.
Michigan has won one
playoff title.
Yep.
Right. That was at the Excel, I think.
Ohio State's won a title. Michigan State, nothing. No playoff, no regular, nothing. I mean, it's.
No, I have a couple buddies that went there that I played men's league with. I said to them, I'm like, I guess does he stay? But who's going to come in and make things better? I don't know when that happens or who makes that. Who they could bring in? You thought Dan Cole was the perfect guy for that. He has a relationship with the USA program. He's got a good coaching track record. He's an alumni, and you're like, when is it going to happen? They just haven't been able to bring anybody in. You're wasting really good goaltending too the last couple of years. Actually, since that's the one thing that they've had is good goalies.
Yes. I mean, Viggs, while you're gone, I was just kind of looking at, you know, Minnesota's won regular season title in the Big Ten 4 times. Notre Dame once, then Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan.
How many runner-up finishes does Ohio State have, though?
In the regular season?
Yeah.
I don't think. Do they have any? One?
They've been runner-up a lot.
They've been close. I mean, they went to the tournament 4 years in a row, which was the first time that ever
Ohio State, I think 5 or 6 years in a row have been 1 or 2. Rolex, I mean, I did a little feature on him for The Athletic a while ago. He is the best coach, I think, who's underrated at the Power 5 type institution.
Right.
He does really, really good work. And I don't know how he does his recruiting, but it's good.
Well, you gotta give Steve
Miller.
JB's really good too. I hate saying that because he's a friend of mine, and I don't like to give him any credit for anything. But you feel it, like when you talk to them now, they've got their grips on that program. Like they've got a pretty well-oiled machine. And I'm not saying they're not recruiting, they're not getting the blue chip guys, but you can just see they're doing what Notre Dame does. You watch Notre Dame, they'll have guys that you won't see them do anything for 2 years, and then all of a sudden their junior year they become prime star players. Like look at Max Ellis. The guy's got 16 goals this year. You didn't know he played half the games maybe his first 2 years, but they keep believing in guys, whereas other programs, if you're not playing by the end of your sophomore year, a lot of times they're looking for the next guy as freshmen that they bring it in to take those spots. And I think Ohio State's done kind of like that, where they build guys up and it's hard to do. I mean, these coaches, the pressure to win is there, but I just think they've got a really good there right now, and I hope that staff stays there for a while. You know, I hope Killer stays. He's fun to talk to too, man. He remembers goal. He remembers a goal from when I played. Like, oh yeah, he scored that first period goal against us Denver in 2003. I'm like, huh? I'm like, I barely remember it. You remember that? It's like 18 years ago. You remember that? I'm like, what is going on?
Does Michigan State need to clean house too, Viggs?
Well, that's.
I mean, is Steve saying they haven't won a playoff game in 8 years?
That's the whole time. Was that the
you
first?
Thought with Dan Cole they would get? You thought with Dan Cole they would get some elite talent.
That's
and
right.
Lewandowski's good.
But they haven't gotten
And-
the USA national. Like they're not getting any ones from the program. That's what I was saying, Beeks. When you're gone, like he's a USA guy. He was there. He's a alumnus. He's got a good track record as a coach, and it's still not happening. Recruiting wise,
if I was running that department, if I was like the AD of Michigan State, I would be talking to hockey people, like the advisors and stuff, and be like, what's wrong with Michigan State? We're building a new rink. This coach has proven with USA Hockey that he can develop players. You know, some of the guys that have come have done well. Why aren't things happening? And that would give you more answers than I can give.
Are they building a new rink?
well, not a rink.
big enhancements, right?
Yeah, like a brand new locker room, workout facility. It's like on the other side of the arena. It should have been done a year or two ago, but COVID messed it up.
Yeah.
I remember. I think it's done, or it's by this summer. It's full go for next year. But with the facilities around the league, I just don't know if that's gonna do it. Is that gonna be the difference?
Well, that's why people thought Minnesota was losing recruits to UMD and North Dakota, was because the locker room team facilities fell behind. And Minnesota was losing recruits to North Dakota and UMD because of that.
Right.
And then Minnesota made the changes and they started getting recruits again, but they kind of had that issue where they didn't play well under Lucia, and they made the change. Right. And recruiting at Minnesota has been good, but I just think Bob's got to figure out how many guys does he take from that wish list, and how many guys does he push to either delay enrolling or fill in with guys that he used to recruit at St. Cloud. Because you have to have that balance. Like Ohio State's proving that more and more again. Yeah. You have to have the mix of guys who have played 2 and 3 years of juniors who have struggled. Like, Nyes is a young guy, but he went through that. He went through the period in Tri-City where he didn't score for like half a year, and he got through it. And once you do that as a player, I think it's easier that if you go through a streak as you're older, you're like, oh, I've done this before.
Yeah.
But if you're Sammy Walker and Blake McLaughlin, you've never done that until you get to college.
Yeah. I had 3 goals my first year in juniors in 50-some games in Omaha. 3. I had more in the playoffs. I think that's what literally, like, I had 4 goals in the playoffs, 3 in 50-some games. And, like, I was, I had done AAA hockey, won a national championship the year before, was a leading scorer, had all the points. And then I go to Omaha, and I was like, whoa, this is hard. And it took me till midway through my second year. I was 19, and I'm like, okay, I started scoring. I started feeling good. And, practice was always hard because Mike Hastings was just a tough son of a bitch of a coach, but a good coach. But his practices were so hard. His thing was make practice hard so the game is easy and fun. But yeah, it took me a year and a half to figure it out. And then it took me 3 years to finally get out to go to college. But I'll tell you, that jump to college was nothing compared to the jump from midgets to juniors because of that.
Right.
And obviously it's 20 years later now, so things change, but not that much in terms of the jump.
I think now that jump that you took, you would have had to take that jump to the NHL, and that would have been your first jump. Because the USHL right now is a league. Like it's like, because so many colleges are pushing back players, that league is no longer like a 17, 18-year-old league.
Right.
It's an 18, 19-year-old league.
Sure.
And so kids who don't play Minnesota hockey, if you jump from like, Little Caesars or Mission right to the USHL, it's going to be a shock, right? Like if you make that leap too early.
I would think so. I did it when I was 18. And I was, I was on a team with we had 19 and 20-year-olds. So I was a young guy back, when I did this. But yeah, it was by far the biggest difference for me in any jump at any time in playing hockey was midgets to USHL. And
Steve found a stat from Michigan State. Last playoff win was versus Miami in the second round of the CCHA. Lost the series 2-1. It'll be 9 years.
Wow. Yeah, because this is the 9th year. This is the 9th year of the Big Ten. Because I started the first year, and this is my 9th year with BTN. So
yeah,
that 2013, 2014.
The school. I mean, it's not working. You got to go with something else. I mean,
well, that's what they thought they were doing. That's the problem. Is I asked my buddy, I'm like, who do you bring in to who can you find?
Yes,
like you thought you had the perfect guy in Dan Cole.
The KHL line.
He hits all. Yeah, he hits all, KHL line. Win a playoff game. That's just. I don't know who you go to. Who do you go to? That can.
I kind of want to bend this just a little bit.
All right.
That's what.
How does Wisconsin not give the biggest contract in college hockey to Rolik?
I mean,
back to his alma mater.
They're going to give him more than what they gave Tony.
Yes. Tony was like a Hail Mary of like, we need a name. We need somebody who can recruit.
Yeah.
He is obviously not winning, and he has not shown that he's learned from his mistakes recruiting and building rosters.
Right.
Even Bob is finding that at Minnesota. It's hard to build a roster.
Yeah.
I mean,
they might.
I mean, it's your school and your guy.
He would leave for. It'd probably be the only place he would leave for.
Right.
I mean
to crush your dreams, but like,
oh no,
in my mindset, I'm just
honestly,
like,
I think JB would pop right in there and be the head coach, unless Killer wanted it. I almost think Killer
wants to, right?
I think like Killer likes being the assistant. He's got such a great track record. He's done everything, but he's always the associate head coach, right? It might be his thing. Maybe he wants it. Maybe if he did, I think they would go with him. Or I don't think they'd want to lose the other two. Let's put it that way. If Rawls went, but he might want to.
Let's just start it now. Rawls is going to Wisconsin next season.
I mean, if I was the AD at Wisconsin, I would have started that conversation months ago. Be like, I need something different than this. But
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe college hockey isn't that much. And, Steve's got a great thing going at Ohio State if they build him a rink. And if I was Steve, I would say, hey, if you build me a rink, I will stay and I will make this program a landmark. If
and
you
I
don't.
And I really don't even want to say what their response would be.
And if they don't care, then Steve maybe has to go.
Well, they don't care enough for that. Let's put it that way. I think they care, but they don't care enough.
Yeah.
Sadly.
That's too bad because they have a great coach there. I think a lot of that staff. So
what if they win a national title? Is that enough?
Are you asking like it was? Then he'd go to Wisconsin because what else?
Would Ohio State build a ring?
Title? Oh, I
could
would
that get you a
well,
ring?
wait. The other thing is, hello, folks. You've got the number 2 women's program, and they play in a slum.
Which is
amazing. They have a perennial powerhouse now built for the women, and they don't have an arena. They play in our practice rink, and that it's a nice little 800 seat. Now they built it a little, but that's
smaller than most high school.
You have 2 top 10. I mean, the women's program is a legit top 5 program now. They've been top 5 for the last 5 years now, at least.
Yeah.
And then the men's team has been a top 10 program other than last year for the last 6 years. Like, what else do you have to do?
What's amazing to me is they have their programs in the spot they do with just awful game day facilities. Right. I'm sure everything else about being an Ohio State athlete is just like top of the line.
Unbelievable.
Like training, like equipment, gear, travel, hotels, tutoring,
for the
traveling.
Really better now that it wasn't.
The women get better travel than the men.
But
that's Title IX. That's Title IX. That's Title IX stuff with money, and that's a money thing. Like they have to put more money. certain ways, but that's nobody's fault. But
the rink I grew up watching high school hockey, I go down and watch the Bloomington Ice Garden Vigs for my high school team. It holds 2,000 people or 2,200 people. It's a high school rink. I mean, how many high school rinks are like that in Minnesota? And the Ohio State can't pull something like that off for their women's team? That's pathetic.
So they were going to play, I think, the 19th, whatever weekend Minnesota or Wisconsin's off. Is that the 18th and 19th? Because Todd said he might go because that's the last week of the regular season, I think. Wisconsin and Ohio State play at Columbus, and it'll be number 2 versus 3, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, whatever that is, and they'll be playing in a little 800 seat thing with probably no. If you watch, you can go on and watch the BTN Plus thing, and see their games. The one thing I've heard that's been talked about, last thing I heard, God, I thought you guys wrote me into talking about this. They were going a thing kind of like like Wisconsin has. They would build a rink attached to the shot there, the Value City Arena, that would seat maybe 2,500 people. So it would be the women's rink, the men's practice rink, and they'd have 2,500 seats or so, like LeBron kind of ish. And then maybe the men would play in there in their in October against Niagara, or something. You know what I mean? Something like that.
I gotta say, having 2,500 full seats is way better than 4,000 in a 10,000 seat arena.
15,000 more like, isn't it? Like, I mean,
well, if you tarp off the top half,
right. Well, yeah. I mean, I bet you they'll have at least 7,000 or 8,000 both nights this weekend. Last weekend they had a little bit of rough attendance because the weather was so bad. They had to cancel a men's basketball game Thursday night, and there was worry about Friday, Wisconsin, because of the ice and weather and snow. So I'm thinking they're going to have 7,000 or 8,000 each night.
And I know I've been vocal on GPL about not giving away tickets, but I think you can give away tickets to students, which is what I think Big Ten
go for free at Ohio State.
Yeah, which is what I think Big Ten institutions should do. Open up 10 to 15, 11 to 15 at Mariucci. Open up as much as you can at Ohio State, because students make a difference for atmosphere, energy, everything.
I mean, I talked about it last week when we were doing the game. I'm like, there's just nothing like the student section and the band next to them against the visiting goalie there, and they're harassing him and all that. And that's just nothing better. I don't care what you're talking about in hockey. It's the best thing.
College and high school sports.
Right.
They're awesome because of students.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's, I think, why. I mean, like I said, they had 4,000 students at a game against Notre Dame. They set some kind of record, 4,500, I think it was. So you're right on with that. And yeah, I don't know about what those other things. It's just,
are the students getting in for free, Vigs, for the playoffs?
I don't think they're going to be aggressive with pricing. I know something that you you get your season ticket. It's $100 for one night, but you can come both. I think student tickets are like $5. $5 is basically free to a college student these days.
Right. And you get to go to all 3 games possibly if it goes to that.
Something like that.
Right.
I'm sure they're going to make it fan friendly to get as many people in there as they can.
Right. Well, did you see, I thought this was cool, is now that students at all Big Ten schools can get BTN Plus for free?
They used to be able to do that before.
When did that change, and now it's back
to
that?
They took it away. Maybe it's back.
I saw it. It's back.
Yeah.
So
I used to be able to get BTN Plus for free, basically, by using my staff. I work at
like your email or something, or
my
student email or my university
staff email. Yeah,
right.
Would get me logged in for free, and I could watch it. But I've had to pay lately, so it'd be nice. It'd help the budget. I'm kind of a freelancer on a tight budget, so
yeah.
I drink good beer.
You have that bed back there, and you got those fancy beers to pay for.
I might have to rent this out. Airbnb. Wine cellar next door.
I want you to
beer
be able
cellar.
to pan it, and Hammy's laying there. Hey guys,
Hey, look
what's
who
up?
we got.
He'd be blacked
Special
out.
guest.
He'd be
Do that on the
blacked out.
300. Doing that on the 250th podcast.
He'd be in the medical tent over here. He'd be in the medical tent. He'd have his iPhone, but dark.
Oh man, love it. That's
Oh
great.
man. Oh yeah, because no one ever seen. Like I said, I met Hammy once in person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm getting ready for my men's league return here in April, so I'm getting my my Apple Fitness workouts in, trying to get some strength back.
You're coming off the IR, or why haven't you been playing?
Well, we get the big reunion skate that'll warm you up in March.
Right. So I've got that, but I've been on parental leave. When
okay.
my children were born, I gave up men's league hockey.
Oh,
And now that my kids are 7 and 9, time to come back.
nice.
40 and over league.
I know.
Really?
I'm actually playing in that tomorrow night because I try to skate twice a week, and I usually skate Wednesdays. I didn't go out today, so I decided to play in the over 40 league tomorrow night.
Yeah, I've been coaching my mini mites and mites now for 4 years, so the hands are active.
There you go. Yeah, at least you're on the ice, and I do my pucks, and
I do my terrible edge work examples where I'm like, this is your inside edge, but you should bend your knee. Don't do it like coach. Bend your knee. Here's your outside edge. Okay, outside edge backwards. Coach can only do it one way. Good.
Oh boy.
So we do have that. We do have that
Video
reunion game we're doing. From a lot of us started playing together 20 years ago. Some of us had never played, like me.
Really?
And it was a small group at first, but it eventually turned into two different men's league teams.
Really?
And
almost like a league.
Well, it was kind of like one team was more elite. The Rubes team was D League.
You didn't split the league. You didn't split the teams up evenly.
No. Some guys did play on both, but now we're getting together. Was it March 20th or something like that?
Yeah, that's cool.
And we're even got a couple former Gophers and Chad Roberg and Nick Angel playing with us.
Nick Angel, I know that name.
Yeah,
nice.
Angel was a decent player.
Yeah,
and, they played with us. 20 years ago, they came out and skated with us.
Wow.
I want to say after one of those national titles where they were not exactly sober playing.
Well,
it's okay when you're young, you can do that stuff.
Yeah, and
we were young.
When you win a national championship, you get a little more freedom, free passes, so to speak. But
it'll be fun just to play. I haven't played. Literally, my bag was up in my rafters for 5 years.
Wow,
mine's out every weekend.
Yeah, so I got to get the.
I mean, honestly, that's just obviously everyone's getting older. Like you can feel it. You can feel it going every freaking year, right? But I just keep trying to skate all year round to just keep it. I'm not trying to break any records, just as a workout.
But we talked about this with Shearhorn last week. We said it's a sport you can play till you're very old because usually the contact becomes a lot less. And it's not hard on the bones because if you're a good, decent skater, oh boy.
Little one. Little Elijah Craig. Little Pizzo pour.
Oh, I have one
Pizzo
of those. A friend of mine sent me a bottle of it. A friend of mine sent me a bottle of that this year. I haven't opened it yet. That same bottle.
It's a little toasted barrel. Just a little taste.
Elijah Craig. Okay, maybe mine's not. Would you say toasted barrel? It's a little darker.
A little darker. A little extra sugar. A little extra sweetness.
I think mine is regular.
Take a fork and Vigs. He's done.
It hasn't.
Well, I mean, it's almost midnight. We gotta be done pretty soon.
Yeah, we do.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I was tired before.
I'm a bit of a night owl, though. I don't know if I'm ever gonna not be. Honestly, I guess I have to have a kid to do that.
Cappy, how old are you?
42.
Yeah, I'm 43. I'm definitely a
I
night owl.
turned 50 this year. You guys can both fuck off.
My wife is
Well,
just like,
no, but
when's
I
that going
mean-
to change? It's like, I don't think it's going to change. But I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any kids. I have a nephew. I mean, I'd like to have a kid or two maybe one day, but I don't have that. So why the? And I don't have a job that has me up at 6 a.m. So, yeah, I'm a little more of a night owl, but
It's better for me now that I have a job where I work from this exact spot.
right. So
And I'm not commuting a long distance, so I
sure.
I don't know if
we
I
get to
say
see
it.
we don't get to see your Wendy's receipts anymore. It's BS.
I know.
It's so sad.
Go rag.
Correg.
Oh god, that was good. Yeah.
I wouldn't say
Greg.
working from home is better for me, but it's easier for me.
Sure.
Oh, I love it because I was filling up my gas tank every 5 days. Now it's
Yeah.
every 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I
I think people nowadays, especially here, like maybe the hybrid.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they're going in on Mondays and Fridays, but they'll go in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe, or 2 of those days. I think because they want to be around people sometimes, but there's no way you want to go in on Monday, right?
Yeah. Like the
You wanna
highlights
go
of my
out of
week
bed.
are availability, podcast, practice.
Right.
Like that's the highlights of my week.
Yeah,
The rest of the days are hard.
So, but you work down at the U, so you can get over to availability.
Well, I used to. No one in my department works on campus anymore.
Wow.
Oh,
We're all remote. So even though I'm
Man.
in Northeast Minneapolis, I'm 10 minutes away.
that's still close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 40 minutes for me.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
easy to get to availability still.
I mean, this is great in terms of my commute to the studio is like 4.5 minutes drive.
Nice.
So that part is great. So when the game's over, I'm home, boom, or whatever. But I'm like Saturday in Wisconsin, I'm like, this is awesome. I'm on campus. There's 12,000 people here. The band's going. The students are there. I see Matt Beniers, Brisson, all these guys in person. But then after the game, I'm like, I really don't want to, I'm in a hotel and this, whatever. I got to drive back. But I'm there. And then the other way, I'm like, well, I'm watching a TV screen like everyone else, but I get home in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
So, a little, kind of like one thing's great. And the other thing, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying one part is better for one thing and one part is better for the other.
There's nothing like being media and being in person because people on Zoom or on a call are so different than in person.
Yeah.
It's night and day. Like I'm sure you still get like your private Zoom call or whatever.
Yeah, the Zooms are better than being on like just the phone for sure. Because
Right.
you're looking at the person. Like with the players, you get they're a little more connected than if you were just like text or like on a cell call or something.
Yeah. Like Fish
But-
told me today he's not a texter. He's like, I want to see people or I want to be on the phone.
Sure.
He's like, I'm old school.
He's old school.
Old school East Sider.
His nickname, Tuna.
I love that one.
He said he got that in juniors. I'm like, okay.
Well, Fish, I mean,
It makes sense.
makes sense.
Well, I know. At least he wasn't Carp. Could have been that.
But the thing is,
Flounder.
the Zoom thing
Yeah.
makes it easy. You don't have to go to a studio and do something where they're doing via TV.
It's easy, but it's not insightful.
Yeah, but
It's easy, but it's not insightful. If you're like the kind of
You're
person that
you're
just
not
wants
likely
to,
going to
like,
get the thing that you want.
you're not gonna get cool stuff.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
some of the coolest stuff is like when someone's done with their media and they feel like sigh of relief, and then you get like that minute after.
Yeah.
You'll always hear something that's just like, dude, would not have asked that or
Sorry, is that
figured
off the
out.
record, sir?
Yeah, you only get that with certain guys.
Right.
But like it's
Yeah.
totally different. It's hard to be insightful unless you have that,
Right.
because otherwise anyone gets it and it's just different. It just
Here-
is.
Here's a good one for you. We're at Madison. We asked so we didn't know here's a funny story. So me and Fosters were asking Christy, the Michigan SID, can we talk to blah, 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 talk to these guys, want to talk to them Saturday morning in between games. They're coming to the rink. And so I text her. She's like, okay, she couldn't do Beniers because he's been asked too many things. So we got Thomas Bordalo, which, okay, great. She's like, keep it to questions about the game and this. So at this point, we know nothing of new stuff. We know the other stuff. We didn't know that morning was when that article came out. So we didn't know what she meant by like
other stuff.
We're just like, and then we're in with Mel, and he mentioned something very broadly about what happened, came out, and we had no idea what he was talking about. We didn't know yet what. And then that afternoon, me and Voster's like, we're Panera on Twitter, and we saw him. We're like, whoa, what is this? So it was like, oh shit, we didn't even know. So they thought we were being polite. We weren't going to ask about that. I'm not into that stuff. That's not what we do.
That's not what you do. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to ask. I mean, I get it why they would say that, because they have to and they protect their guys, but we had no clue about it. And so first inkling of it ever was Mel just broadly mentioned. He didn't even say what it was. He just said, oh, and now this morning or something. So that, was kind of interesting, I thought. But we talked to Thomas Bordalo, and we were face to face. There was the three of us chatting, and he started showing us his tattoos because Voster's asked him about it, and he pulls up his sleeve and he shows us his one that says Bordalo on his inside of his arm, and it's both ways. So if you look at it like this side, and then if you turn it over, it's reverse spells it. It's very cool, cursive. Wow. The way his name, because he's got that name that's. It was really cool, and you would have never gotten that on a Zoom or on anything else. So, and he was really a great guy to talk to. Like he was he expanded. He's like talked about, oh yeah, when I have kids, I save room on my legs for tattoos if I want to do something with my kids. I'm like, the kid's 19, maybe 20 now, and he's talking this way. I'm like, very mature. I'm like, that was cool. Like, there's no way we get that talking on a Zoom call. So
I wish we would have got more of that. Fontaine. Bob was very protective of him the last 2 years, and I feel like we missed out because, I feel like that's gone. Like that whole story is gone now. Yeah, the fans here, they'll never forgive it. I don't know.
Okay, well then, does Laffer break down like he did on Zoom? No way. Because he was holding a phone. He was out where nobody else was. He was out in the arena because he had to go out there for better signal.
Yeah.
And there was nobody right there in front of him. Right. He wouldn't have broken down like he did after that sweep.
No, that was a cool moment.
But that's kind of the outlier though. But that's
right.
That's like 1 out of 30 games. We got a moment like that. And who knows?
But it was
Jack being Jack, he might have done it if it was a small scrum. If it was just like me, Brian, and Jess, he might have done the same thing.
Maybe.
Did he graduate? Was he in grad school?
Oh yeah. Yep.
That probably made it a lot easier too.
Yeah.
Except for his book club.
His book club and his legacy. That's what he gave up. Do you know anything about the book club, Cappy?
No.
Like the week before he left, Mazzocco talked LaFontaine into doing a book club with the radio program.
Okay.
And they'd pitch a book to read, and then 2 weeks later, we'd recap it and talk about it as a between the periods thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was on Agassi Open, and it's kind of an interesting biography. I read it because Jack's an interesting guy. So I was like, why did you pick this book? And it was kind of a book about a guy who hated tennis, hated his profession, but did it because he was good. And sometimes I wonder if that's Jack. Does he identify with that? He's like, I don't want to do this forever, but this is a path to get a paycheck out of it and then be done.
And an education.
Right. And I don't know what I really want to do, maybe.
Right. I don't know who I am because I've been told I'm this forever People
Right.
have always told
Man,
me
there's
I'm
a
a
lot of
goalie.
kids
I'm a
like
hockey-
that too. I think there's a lot of
Yes.
kids in a lot of sports like that.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Like I identify as a player, as an athlete in this sport and nothing else. I don't know who I am without this.
Right.
Is that his like subconscious message to all of us with that or what? I don't know.
Right. I mean,
I don't know. I
could-
still talk to Jack every once in a while, like with messages.
Sure.
And I'm just gonna give him some space until the end of the year, but
Sure.
he'll reflect on it, I bet, at some point and like figure it out.
Special
Hey,
podcast. Let's get him on here, Viggs.
there you
It'll
go.
be a while.
Hey,
Maybe
man.
maybe someday.
Honestly, I think I bet there's are like that.
You cut out there. What was that?
There's 20 to 30% of athletes that are like that
Okay.
to an extent. Like they might not, they love it, but they might not love it as much as it's perceived, but they don't know what else they would do.
Yep.
Because it's all they've known for so long. You know, I mean, especially guys that didn't go to college. Maybe I'm talking maybe some of these other guys, you know, like major junior guys and guys that didn't go to college and there's no plan outside of the game. You know,
Cappy, I think there are players also who like they feel like their parents have invested so much into them to be who they are today
yeah, for
that
sure.
they don't want to tell them no, I don't want to do this. I think there's a lot of that out there too. And the kid thinks is like, I'm good at this.
Are just nuts. I mean, you're around it. Their parents are the reason I don't coach, because I just seen too much. They care way too much, or they care way more than the kids do, and it's because their kids not getting enough ice time at year-olds or something. I'm like, I don't want to get yelled at by a parent because they think I'm playing their kid enough, or I'm playing this kid more than this guy when I'm just opening the door for them, you know. Or I've heard those stories from people, and I'm like, that just makes me run away from wanting to coach hockey.
And look at that, the extreme. Look what Jack Johnson's parents did to him.
Oh,
Right.
that's yeah.
I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
Criminal.
It's very strange because, like, then I remember interviewing him and his brother at Penn State 2 years ago. When his brother was on campus, we were doing these features like, oh, perfect. Jack Johnson is going to be playing. He was on Pittsburgh, and they were playing a preseason game in Happy Valley against Buffalo, as Pagula's team. So, you know, it was kind of the perfect storm there. And his brother is Kenny. I think he's a junior now. He plays. He's a big guy. He's not very good, but like they were very happy people, and you know they're very spread apart in age. I want to say like, shoot, 10 years at least, maybe.
Yeah.
Because Jack's got to be what 33, 34, 35 now, and Kenny's maybe 22. So they seem good, but I also was thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, Jack, like what's the family dynamic here right now? Like, what does Kenny think of his parents? Obviously, that is not what we talked about. But you know,
it's in your mind when you're
it's going through my mind a little when I'm talking to
Yeah.
him. Like, man, I hope you know. Anyways, but that's the major extreme there.
Yeah. It's more of a tragedy than anything else. It was just like, wow.
Sure. I just and now you guys are probably seeing this, but like there's like these academies now in the Chicagoland area where you go to school and skate twice a day.
They're here in Minnesota too.
Well, I didn't know because you guys are just, you know, Minnesota.
Yeah,
still different.
There's a breakaway academy and a gentry academy, and that's where Snuggerud came through because his dad was one of the coaches at
Lucius?
Breakaway.
Okay.
At Breakaway, the Lucius family built Gentry, and that's where Kurth went. Kurth is going to be coming in next year.
But
like the Breakaway Academy,
do they
is
go
like
to
a middle
high school then,
thing.
or no? Do they do this when they're
the
like
Gentry
10, 11,
kids
12,
go to high
13?
school? The Gentry kids go to high school.
So they live a somewhat normal life.
Yeah, pretty normal. I mean, they go to school like 8 to noon, and then afternoon is
it's like junior
choice time.
Kind of
junior choice time. Yeah. And then the Breakaway Academy just prepares kids basically to finish middle school and then go off to play junior hockey. That's how I think it is.
At like 14?
Yeah, 14. Like go play AAA and then go play USHL or development camp or whatever. It's
Okay.
It's a weird.
So there's a couple here, and a lot of so there's a AAA. It's Tri-Cities USHL team. The owner he started this academy, and they go to school, then they practice or they skate, then they go to school, then they skate again, and it was maybe like 12 to 15 of them out there, and it's a lot of skill stuff and all that. But I'm like, that is so much hockey at age 12, 13, 14, 15. Like,
right.
Every day is one thing, which is too much, but twice a day, every day, I'm like tired for these children. Like, and I hope they really are into it. I mean, I'm sure most of them are to an extent, but it's just so much. And then they're at school with the same guys all day, every day. So you're with these small kids. There's no girl interaction. There's no like social interaction aside from these. Maybe I guess you have some friends near home. But when do you see them though? Because you have
Gentry and Breakaway are co-ed, and like there's other kids like they play golf, they play lacrosse, they play soccer.
Yeah, but also think about it, Vigs. It's just even more pressure on those kids because their parents are paying a shit ton of money.
Oh yeah.
Well, Gentry is it's a charter school, which is. And there's extra fees for hockey. It's weird.
But it's
Breakaway is more
you're
like
going to an actual school, or is the rink at the school?
It's like in an office park next to a rink.
Okay.
Like it's an office building next to a rink.
Okay. Because this is kind of the same, I guess. I don't even know where these kids go to school because. I'm just talking about the amount of skating and the amount of ice time they're on is just nuts.
Well, I could understand it if it's like the Roseau model where the rink is available for you to play pickup hockey. But that's not what is happening.
No,
it's like they're putting them through drills.
Skill working. Yeah. This is they're getting paid. These guys are getting paid probably $50,000 a year to coach these kids. It's their full-time job.
Yeah. Which is the
I don't even know what these parents are paying.
You should have an English teacher who's like on the side, like, oh, I'm going to supervise you doing this. Versus like a hockey skills coach.
Well, and then they got to hire these teachers, right?
Right.
How many teachers do you have to hire?
Well, in the past, like the high school coaches were mostly teachers themselves.
Right.
I don't know.
It used to be
the case.
Yeah.
I had
not as much anymore.
I had Tom Satterdahl as a health teacher. He taught health.
Yeah. I mean, shoot. We would play. I mean, this is AAA in Chicago. When I was doing it, we'd practice Tuesday, Thursday, and you'd play 3 games on the week. You play 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday morning. Boom.
Yep.
You're off Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
That's plenty of sport
all the time.
That's plenty of sport for a kid.
Right. And this is older kid. This is me when I'm 15, 16, 17, when you are, you're cut down to one sport most likely.
Did you play other sports as a kid?
I played baseball through 8th grade. So then at that point, I wasn't good enough in baseball, and my high school was a good baseball program. They wanted you in January to be going, doing the indoor practices, and
which is also wrong. Which is also the wrong thing,
right? I wasn't good enough for them to say, okay, come when you're hot, come when you can, and all that. So I had to decide, and I was better at hockey, and I was more into hockey, so it worked out that way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a hard time being a parent if my kids like sports. Like it's gonna be really hard for me.
If they like or don't like.
If they like them.
Oh.
Because I'm gonna push back on year-round sports with any coach. Like I'm gonna have issues probably with coaches who want my kid to play one sport year round.
Right.
And that's the trend.
I think the tough thing too is they want to do what their friends do. They want to feel like they're included, right? And you're going to say this thing, hey, you should play this and this time of year. But hey, Timmy and Johnny, my best friends, are doing this and I'm into it with them. And maybe they're not. Maybe they just want to be with their friends. But they want to do hockey this summer, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, whatever sport it is. So
like I'm going to have a hard time spending $5,000 for my kid to play 3-on-3 during the spring at the Lumberyard in Stillwater.
Yeah.
Like it's
Right.
just like as a U10 player,
Right.
like, really, we're doing this? No, you should be
Yeah.
playing golf and baseball and tennis. or
Anything you
swimming
want other
or
than
anything
hockey.
you want other
Be
than hockey in the
outside. Go
spring.
play lacrosse. Whatever.
Between April and August, do something else.
Right. Only thing maybe is you go to like a one camp.
Yes,
That's
camp.
a summer camp, but that's
Like,
It's
for
a
a
week.
Right.
Yeah,
For
week or
1
two.
week.
Or maybe you play in a league that's like
You do spring
Saturday
league,
nights.
maybe. I always did spring league, which was like, March, April, but it was only a game. You
One
didn't
game a week.
Practice. You played a game
Yeah.
once a week.
Play
and
the
that
game
was
once
it.
a week. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think we're past that. And
I know.
We are.
I think that's,
dinosaur.
I think that's long gone because it's half money making. If they want to pay these
It's all about money.
coaches, they
Everything's
got to
about
make the money. I don't know how these parents afford it. My dad had to my dad was a workman's comp insurance adjuster, and so he had a lot of lawyer friends, and he gave a lot of lawyers business. He couldn't afford the amount of money I had for hockey to play AAA since from 8th grade on or whatever it was. He had one of the lawyers sponsored me. Not completely, but he had that help was needed. We weren't, we're a lower middle class family, and I didn't know. I just played. I didn't know how much it cost, or I realized we were traveling every other weekend to Michigan in hotels, and I didn't know what the fees were. I didn't know nothing about that stuff, but I know it now. And
pay for play is tough. It's not good for development.
Right. It's just I can't imagine what it is now. I mean, prices of going just to school now, going to like a high school, like a Catholic high school or something, is more than what college was 10, 15 years ago. So, yeah.
All right, guys, it's 12:20.
All right.
I know.
See, it would be one.
I think this is the record for the year, right, Jupe?
Oh, I think so. It's 2
Cappy,
hours and
good
51
job.
minutes so far.
I feel like I get it every year. I just keep
man
rambling.
of the people.
What's that?
You're a man of the people. You're a lower middle class guy who made it in hockey, and you're just spreading the gospel.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And your team is going down this week.
No, your team.
I just got the low battery.
Oh, you're
on
gonna
the phone.
anyway.
No, but it's 20% on the phone. I
We're
think.
wearing out 2 batteries tonight.
Jeez, they're burning the midnight oil, but yeah,
Let's feed the wolf.
I don't know. I just
Great show though. Thanks for
It
coming.
was.
on.
It flew by actually. The hour on.
It always does.
Because we went to predictions. I'm like, dude, already? I feel like we
But
just
the thing
started.
is, we still ended up being over 50. Like it was between.
Oh,
50
no, I
and
know.
an hour. And
Oh,
that's
for
pretty
sure.
typical.
We did get kind of serious there in the middle, talking about, unfortunate stuff at, sexual harassments and assaults.
Hey,
and
we're
that.
freewheeling on the show. We can go anywhere.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Well,
All right,
like I
kids.
said, if you want me on again in the playoff region time, you let me
We may
know.
have to do that.
I'm always
Number one
enjoy it.
seed. Number one seed.
Number one seed.
I honestly, I said this last week. So I will be on the What Do You Call It Friday, and I'll preview the show on Big Ten today. So
Nice.
somewhere between 11 and 12, probably after 11:30. So
We'll hype it.
there you go.
All right,
but
kids.
yeah, obviously our big story will be that series, or that'll be the number one talking point.
I
So,
hope so.
other than that, I guess maybe we'll chime in on Olympics and whatever. So, but should be fun.
That's why I have to get to bed so I can be awake for the game tomorrow.
All right.
I guess it is tomorrow now, since it is
Today, sorry.
today's Thursday, so tomorrow is the game.
Under 7 hours until game puck drops.
Wait, today's only Thursday, man. You got another day.
No, it's 7 a.m. China.
7 a.m.
US.
tomorrow.
Oh, you're talking hockey? You're talking USA?
Yeah.
USA. Yeah. USA
I thought you were talking
China at
about.
7
I thought you were
a.m.
talking about the Minnesota series.
No,
Minnesota, Ohio State.
But Friday night.
What
would be
time do
great.
they play? At 7 a.m. tonight?
7:10.
All right.
Central.
Yeah.
What's
And
that
then
time?
tomorrow, and
9
then Friday
o'clock?
night we've got Ohio State and Penn, and then we got the late night US Canada.
U.S. Canada.
Take care,
hockey?
guys.
All right, we gotta go.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Later, guys.
Text me the info on that.